Get into full Monty for you right here with this crew, with the whole crew. Also, we'll get into the NBA playoff review. Lakers get a big win over the Warriors. Knicks with a win over the Heat. We'll preview the game tonight, Celtics and 76ers. We'll also get into the big news coming out of Dallas. Micah Parsons telling people that he is permanently moving to the edge spot to be the defensive end, full-time edge rusher for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk about what it means, break down some of the X's and O's. Cowboys also could look to add a free agent at the wide receiver position. We'll get into that too. And the Texans, they did look at chemistry when trying to pair up a wide receiver and their newest franchise quarterback. We'll discuss that. And Rojo and Bijan getting a lot of love already, just a few days after the NFL draft. Before we hit all of that, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He was a second-round pick for the Montreal Expos, but a first-round pick for the Austin Radio Network. He originally committed to the University of Texas, but decided to forego the 40 acres and chase his dream in the cheese. Pimping ain't easy, but for him it's a breeze. He is Mike Hardball Hard, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, brother?
Man, it's another day. We're on the hump day edition of Ball Don't Lie, midweek movie theme. Make sure y'all pay attention because we might need your help. But I think we're going to get it early this week. But let me talk about my man that sits across from me every single day. He hails from H-Town with the Get Down. He's a lifetime Longhorn and a proud card-carrying member of DBU. Legendary lifetime and now College Football Hall of Fame Longhorn, Derek Johnson, said he was the best cover corner he had ever seen. He's a former NFL DB that still has that passion for film study, but he's not a fan of white condiments. But, of course, he is a fan of you, the listeners. He is my man and yours, Rod Babers.
I appreciate the intro, as always. The closer we get to the weekend, the sweeter it is. Let's not waste any time introducing the real MVP, one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. We don't know what he's paid, but we're pretty damn sure that he's underpaid. It's Patrick Davis. What's going on, Patrick?
Doing good. Watched some good basketball last night.
Yeah, we did.
I'm telling y'all, I think this series is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be like a heavyweight fight. It's going to go back and forth. And it was a great game. I mean, all the way up to the end. We'll get into the win for the Lakers in Game 1 of the second-round series versus the Golden State Warriors. LeBron facing off against Steph Curry. That is some talking about epic showdowns in NBA history. So we'll get to that, break it all down. You can be a part of it. Matter of fact, you're the most important part of it. You're the heartbeat of it. You're the pulse. 512-337-3776. That's the best way to hit us up. If you are in the Twitterverse, you can hit us up via Twitter. Harge is at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse. My man Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse if you want to hit him up. And I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. All right, gentlemen, let's get into it. Let's just start off with it because there are a lot of layers to this game, this matchup last night between the Warriors and the Lakers. Lakers get the win 117-112. AD was the star of the show. 30 points, 23 rebounds. He ended up with five, I believe it was 5 assists and 4 blocks. He was a force on both ends of the floor, and it was really him that set the tone, whether for the Lakers on the defensive end and on the offensive end. I believe for the first half he was 9 of 10 from the floor in the first half. Ended up with 30 overall points, but he was really the biggest difference maker, the force multiplier for the Lakers, Harge. And there are other guys that played roles, and you talked about the role players stepping up, but there was nobody that played a bigger role and was a bigger difference maker than Anthony Davis.
No doubt about it, and that was the biggest part of our conversation yesterday before we left here. We said we expect a lot from Anthony Davis. This is why you pair up a LeBron James with an Anthony Davis, because you wanted to have that level of success, and he's been very important to it. But the problem is, what are we going to get next game? Yeah, you got the first one, but he's so inconsistent.
That's true.
What we call him, street clothes. Street clothes is very inconsistent, but this is the time for him to build his resume. This is the time for him to show up and say, hey, I am here for the long haul. I'm going to be here for this team, and I'm going to do everything I can. I know a lot of people question me. I know a lot of people come after me, but this is the reason why you're brought in.
Those are valid criticisms
no doubt.
AD so far.
No doubt.
And honestly, he's one of the best examples of load management paying off.
Oh, my goodness.
If he
can, yeah, I
if
was
he
gonna
stays
say.
healthy, I'm not going to wood.
Yeah, yeah.
As Patrick calls them street clothes. But yeah, to me, if he can stay healthy and LeBron James can just supplement where needed, you won't wear down LeBron. The beauty of the Lakers' recipe to win is that they do have two bona fide superstars.
Yes, they do.
Now, LeBron is an aging superstar, but he's still got GOAT status. He's a superstar. AD is just an inconsistent superstar
Very
who,
much so.
for different reasons, hasn't been able to play consistently, especially, deep runs, of course, until their championship run during that bubble season into the playoffs. But, man, if he can just be consistent, and I'm not saying you're going to get 30 and 23. That's a lot.
That's a
All
lot.
right? But if you, like you said, if you just get AD playing at basically at his highest level, game in and game out, if you can get that, man, the Lakers pretty much are going to win this series because it's so much tougher on the Warriors because they don't have another superstar.
Right.
They got stars with Steph. He's a superstar, but they don't have anybody that can kind of take over a game like that. The Lakers got two of those guys.
Yeah, and I mean, even if Anthony Davis doesn't have that game again, as long as the effort that he put forth in this game is still there, he can be a huge impact because we saw defensively. He was blocking shots. He was disrupting.
Yes.
Defensively, it was as big of an impact as the 23 rebounds and 30 points.
Agreed.
It was defensively. It's that effort that he needs to keep putting out there because what we'll see is he'll get in his own head. He'll miss a couple of little bunnies. He'll miss a couple of shots up front and not get a foul call he likes. And he'll get in his own head, and then you'll see him sitting at the end of the bench and not being in the huddles and not being in it. So it comes down to him being ready for it and then LeBron and Darvin Ham to make sure that he is continually involved in everything
Engaged.
and get him back into it. So when he feels like – because we saw in the playing game when he goes to the bench in overtime, or maybe it's the first round, when he goes to the bench and he's at the end of the bench and then they go to overtime and all of a sudden he's playing well again. And they got him back engaged. It's like it's possible to get him back. You just you can't let him sit and simmer in his own disgust of how he's playing.
Yeah.
You have to get him back in these games because you saw in that how valuable he is on both sides of the court.
Well, here's the other thing, too. You look at the other side of the ball and you try to figure out what's next for this team. Clay and Steph were 19 of 49 and 12 of 29 from three as a squad. You look at those numbers and you're like, oh, they were good. No, they're volume scoring. That's exactly what it is. They didn't even get to the free throw line, really.
Well,
they shot 6 free throws yesterday as a squad.
Yeah, because they shot 53
Exactly.
three-pointers as a squad. So you're right.
Ridiculous.
I mean, they were so lopsided. Well, and give the Lakers credit. Great. It was kind of a great kind of game plan for the Lakers. They decided to just roll the dice. That's a very risky proposition that you're going to let the Warriors shoot themselves out of it.
Well,
and you're going to dominate
that
the
is
paint.
a risk.
Well, let's be clear.
Because
It wasn't the Warriors shoot themselves. It was everyone but Steph Curry because they would double Steph and play heavy on Steph.
Yep.
And he's still going to get his because he's Steph Curry. But everyone else, they were leaving open.
Yeah, but Steph was going into he had 13 points on his first 14 shots.
Yeah.
So that game plan worked, but essentially the Warriors were so obsessed with those with the 3-point shots, and they had room, they had space. They were giving them space because they had some open shots, and they hit a lot of them too. I believe ultimately they were 21 of those.
Yeah, they were 21 of 53. Yeah.
So they hit a lot of those, but they were so lopsided, they almost no offensive presence in the paint. And even to your point about the free throws. So you go look at it, the Golden State Warriors basically outscored the Lakers by 45 points from 3-point range. Because the Lakers, you go look
6 of 25.
6 of 25, right? They were terrible from 3-point range.
24%.
So you outscored but look at that points in the paint.
Yeah.
And the Lakers outscore the Warriors by 26 points in the paint.
Yep.
Right, you're creeping closer, and then you go look at the free throw line, and they outscored about 20 points on the free throw line.
25 of 29.
They were 25 of 29, and the Warriors were 5 of 6. So I outscored them by 20 points on the free throw line.
Which is your difference.
That's your game.
Yep.
I mean, that was a 5. It was 117 to 112.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's your game. The Warriors, they hit their 3-point shots and they made some money out there, but not enough. And they didn't supplement the offense enough from the free throw line and trying to get in the paint.
Just so y'all know too, because Vegas build those buildings on purpose, the over/under was 227. It's amazing to me. And remember, the first half, they weren't playing good. Neither team. They were not shooting the ball that great. You talked about Steph coming out being hot at the very beginning of the game, but then he cooled off for a little bit. But then you had Jordan Poole.
Yeah,
Jordan Poole being able to come out and do what he was able to do. But let's get to the last shot. With 10 seconds left.
Oh, let me just tell you, I do not want to be Jordan Poole in film room today.
I mean, he had so much room to get closer. I know he was cooking. I know he was shooting the ball well, and he was scoring the last parts of the points for them. I think he scored the last 12 points.
He was 6 of 11.
But the thing about it is, in that situation, if I'm going to lose, I want to get the ball back to Steph Curry. I'm getting the ball back. I understand. And Steve Kerr, credit to him for being the professional that he is, looking at his team and covering for his player. But y'all all know deep down, he's like, bruh, you couldn't take a couple dribbles. You couldn't get a little bit closer.
Get in rhythm?
Get in rhythm. Because that looked like a push shot.
Yeah,
that
he was
wasn't
leaning
even
forward.
A jump shot.
He's leaning forward.
Yes.
No, it was terrible. And the problem is, if it's just that and you go, man, it sucks that you took that one bad shot. He took probably 7 really bad shots in that game.
I agree.
And so if you're saying, like, multiple times you heat checked yourself and you basically hit 2 in a row once, and then you heat checked yourself the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Like, man, you ain't on fire. It's that he is him. He kept thinking he is him the whole game. Like, you're not. You're not even close right now. That's Steph Curry. Steph Curry is him. You not you.
No.
And he kept heat checking himself the whole game. That's what I said, man. I would hate to be in film room today because the whole room is just laughing at him. Because you just watch and go, all right, tell me what you're thinking here where you're 8 feet behind the 3-point line.
Oh, my God.
Turned, not squared up, and you think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna just turn real quick and throw it up.
That's my shot.
Because he hit a couple of those early in the game.
And that's
he
it.
Hit
and
like 2 of those early in the game. I remember then I was like, well, his form was all terrible, but he hit him,
so
and
awful.
he thought, I'm hot. Yeah, it was awful.
It got me where I need to be, dog.
And I don't get how you could be hot in the second quarter and then in the fourth quarter be like, I feel it's coming back. Like, it was just brutal. But, I mean, we saw Draymond Green came out on his podcast today and said that he played horrible. He said he was awful and he needs to be better in this series. But you're like, man, the problem is, if you're trying to go out there and guard LeBron James and he's going to be a distributor more than a scorer, it's going to be real hard for you to have an impact in this series because you're not the offensive player that's going to kill them. If they're playing the Matador, let's let Draymond Green shoot as many times as he wants defense, then you're going to have problems in this series. I think what we saw at the end of the game, though, was Draymond Green kind of challenging LeBron to shoot more and taking away driving from him and making him a three-point shooter. It seems like that's going to be their plan going forward because he shot really poorly in that game.
LeBron's been shooting really poorly the entire playoffs.
Yes. So I think they're going to have until you start hitting threes, which, I mean, you did that with Jordan Poole. The Lakers did with Jordan Poole, and it worked out because he just kept shooting them, even though they weren't going in. Klay Thompson wasn't hitting a huge clip of them either. And so if you say, we're just going to leave you open, and we know it's going to take you a little bit more out of rhythm because you can't tell that you're not used to getting this much room. That's I feel like you have to start doing that with LeBron because he was just torching Draymond, and then Anthony Davis is torching Looney in the post.
Yep.
And if both those guys are getting torched and they're your 2 best defensive players, that's a problem.
You got issues. It was actually a game that it was so lopsided in so many statistical ways. Here's a little stat for you. The free throw attempts by the Warriors, 6 free throw attempts. 6, yeah, exactly. It was the fewest free throw attempts when taking at least 53-point shots in a game all time.
That's
playoffs
ridiculous.
or regular season. That's how lopsided it was. The previous was 7 by the Warriors, by the way, against the Thunder. But that's crazy.
Yeah.
To be that lot. And I think they've won some of those matchups where it's been that case, but they've probably hit more of those 3-pointers. 21 is not enough.
Right.
They need more if they're going to shoot 53 of them.
Yeah.
Or they need to get to the free throw line, because even Steph, I mean, they denied Steph any lane to the paint. He really couldn't get shots up in the paint like he did versus Sacramento. Sacramento, he got to the lane a lot.
Yeah.
And was able to, we talk about him being the greatest three-point shooter of all time, which he is, but he's also a great shot maker.
He is. He creates his own shots, and he's good with the handle. He can create space, and he can get to the lane.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Jared Vanderbilt, and I don't think a lot of people are giving him enough credit.
Oh, yeah.
When he was guarding Steph, he contested 92% of the shots. Steph was 2 of 10, 1 of 5 from 3, and he had 2 steals. So he was pressuring Steph because of his length, and he understood his assignment. You know what I'm saying? This is the thing that we were talking about before we left yesterday. I kept saying this is the time where you know your role and you worry about what your role is. And we need to give some love to Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder came off the bench, and he was able to score and play good defense as well. So that was a plus for those guys on the Lakers side. But the reality of it is, I don't know if Golden State can win the series, because I'm with you, Rod. I know a lot of people are still looking at Golden State and saying they're going to win the series, and they believe that they still can. But if Golden State is only going to shoot 6 free throws in a game and live and die by the 3 that much, this could be a long series for them, because they're slow and steady. The Lakers are just slow and steady because they can't keep up.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're gonna live and die by the 3, that's not good threes. They're giving you 3-pointers.
Yep.
And you're deciding to take a harder shot for no reason because they're letting you have them.
Yep.
And you're still taking the harder shot. That's where you have to go in today and just go, guys, why? The guy's 5 feet off of you, and you shoot the ball 4 feet behind the line.
Exactly.
Get up to the line. It's a much easier shot.
And attack.
Take a dribble.
Too.
Take a dribble and push
to your
it.
point,
Maybe
get rhythm.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll get a foul call too, and maybe we'll get to the line. And I mean, we gave flack to Celtics on Monday after Monday's game for only getting 10 fouls. The Lakers only got 12 fouls in this game.
Yep.
The difference is the Lakers had 10 blocks. Like, there's a difference if you have a guy like Anthony Davis who can just reach out and pick the ball out of the air as many times as he did, and you have guys that are going in and playing really good, Vanderbilt playing good defense and getting hands in the air, then you can foul less. You don't have to play as aggressive because you're playing smart basketball. It was impressive to see them really shut down the paint on a team that really, really likes to drive. Steph Curry is one of the best at laying the ball in, getting around and avoiding contact and getting shots up. And he just could not do it with any sort of rhythm in that game.
Yeah, no, he's a magnificent trickster when he gets into the lane. Like just
he
the angles
so much stuff.
he really does. He had He had 12 shots in the paint versus Sacramento in Game 7, and he was 8 of 12 on those 12 shots in the paint. He had only 6 shots in the paint. It was 2 of 6 in the game last night. So he couldn't even get a shot up in the paint. They were really aggressive, and most of that was because of AD's presence. So it's going to be interesting to see what the adjustment is, because the Lakers did a good job of just – it's a gamble, because I'm with Patrick. I think if the Warriors just move up a step or two, and a lot of those threes that they decide to just kind of launch up, kind of lackadaisically, they could end up, it's the greatest three-point shooting team of all time.
I mean, that's the thing is if you say you're shooting 45-50% instead of just under 40%.
39%?
Yeah, so if you're shooting 45-50% in this series because you're just taking better threes.
42% would have won you the game.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're shooting 45-50 because you're just taking better shots and you're a good three-point shooting team. Now the Lakers have a real problem because now they have to start coming back out on you. And now Anthony Davis has to respect his players, and he has to get out of that paint, which now opens up the paint for you.
Yep.
But as long as you're not hitting and they can just sit back and kind of protect the paint, it's going to be a problem for this Warriors team. You have to hit your threes.
Well, when Looney and Green were on the floor at the same time, that's what the Lakers exposed.
No threat.
Yeah, so they got to spread the floor out a little bit better.
Well,
and I'm sure Draymond can do it. But.
Supposed to be a three-point shooter.
Exactly.
And he has, at stretches this season, made teams pay because there was a lot of points during the season where teams will basically not guard him.
Yep.
And stand 7-8 feet back and play help defense against or try and double on to Steph while Draymond Green has the ball. And he was making him pay earlier in the season. He just did not seem to be – he had no incentive to do that. He was driving but taking off for layups outside of the zone. So it's just a harder shot than if you get down there and you contest. If you're a physical guy, you want to go create contact and lay the ball up where you know where you're going with it. he didn't want to do that either. Just he needs to figure out a way to be more effective on the offensive end because we saw the Lakers, they pulled out Vanderbilt at the end of that game, and that's when the Warriors go on the run. And so it's like Vanderbilt has to find a way to be better offensively too, so he doesn't have to come out of this game because defensively he's been huge. So both teams have that one guy that's in there for defense, but is going to have to figure out a way to be offensive just so they can stay in the game.
Warriors were 13-0 all time when hitting 15 or more three-pointers than the opposing team.
Yep.
That was their first loss.
Well,
So
there's been
think-
a lot of different milestones for
Yeah.
Golden State this year, whether it was their road record. Now you're giving us that stat. They've had their ups and downs.
I think that they probably believe this is an outlier. That much like Patrick is saying, guys, if we take 6 or 7 of those 3-pointers and we either take a dribble and two steps up, or we make the extra pass, or here or there, we get above 40%. We get to 42 to 45%. If you're there, you win this game.
No doubt.
I mean, it's just so they've proven to do that. So I don't know if they're going to change up their game plan that much. I think they're going to tweak some things, but they're going to just be more efficient from behind the 3-point line. The Lakers are going to give them that, the greatest 3-point and most prolific 3-point shooting team in NBA history. They're going to take it.
I will also think
for
they're going to
sure.
have to. They're going to change up their defensive mindset and in their offensive attacking a little bit. In the fact that I think they were still kind of in the Sacramento Kings mindset of how they were going to get officiated. And you're like, dude, y'all were more famous and more well-known and known these officials all more than anybody on the Kings. So you're going to get the benefit of the doubt on a lot of these calls. Now you're playing LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Those calls change.
Yeah, stars
Because you're playing against big stars on the other side, and they just did not seem to adjust to how the referees were calling this game at all. And it shows when you look at how many free throws were shot.
I love that. Did you guys hear the clip where they do the in-game audio of the coaches? And both of the coaches said the same thing. Steve, they both said, "Hey, hands up when we defend. Hands up. Let them see your hands. Let them see your hands." Ham said the same thing, and Kerr said the same thing because I think they kind of saw what you saw, Patrick. Like, nah, man, they're officiating this game differently, and both teams need to adjust to the way that the officials are officiating this game. So much star power involved.
Yeah,
That's
it was
a big
funny.
part of
There was a big 3 in there later in the game, and I saw Steve Kerr stick both his hands up. And for a minute, you're like, is he celebrating? You're like, oh, no. He's just like,
throwing
put
his
your
hand.
hands up.
Yeah, get your hands up. Get your hands up. No, I thought that was really interesting. And, one of the and speaking of officiating, the Lakers, I did some research during the regular season. They were the 3rd best team in the NBA at drawing fouls in the regular season. And they got fouled the least often of any team in the NFL, while the Warriors, they got to the line less often than just like 28 teams. So they didn't get to the line that often, and they fouled their opponents more than the NBA average. So this was just an exacerbated, extreme example of it in Game 1, but that does track with what we know about the Lakers and the way they play and how, honestly, like Patrick said, the way they're officiated.
Right.
I'm not saying conspiracy stuff and all that.
No.
Don't get me started. I'm just saying stars are officiated differently than jabronis in the league. That's every damn league. by
And
the way.
most of the plays are in the paint. That's what I'm saying.
I will
They're
say,
going there.
these
They're
refs
banging.
called a travel on LeBron James in the 4th quarter, and I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card.
And he didn't complain.
No, because he
He really
traveled.
complained.
Yeah, because he normally travels.
He's like, I got it.
He's like, yeah. He was like, that did feel like a lot of steps, didn't it?
But you know what was
like,
on
he
your
didn't even
bingo
complain.
card? Technical for Draymond Green. I told y'all that before we left. I said, I guarantee you he gets one tonight.
Yeah, that's true. That's expected right there.
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't get out of control though.
No, he was every
pretty
time he
tame.
plays LeBron, he wants to be in the game. He wants to be engaged. There was one play early in the game where he fell to the ground and he jumped up and was complaining, and he said, he pulled me to the ground. He pulled me. Nah, we went back and watched the replay. That was all you, Draymond.
Hey.
That was all you.
Draymond know how to play it.
Oh, yeah.
There's got a lot of
He
savvy.
didn't get the call.
You got them savvy vets in this series, man. They know how to fall.
Yeah.
LeBron did one. What was it? I think it was Looney. He knocked the ball out of bounds. LeBron was trying to get him.
Trying to pretend like his head was exploded. I was like, oh, my God, he hit him across the head. And my son was like, come on. He's like, Dad, that's LeBron.
Yeah, 'cause like, he didn't
that's
even touch
LeBron.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
look back.
LeBron's always doing this.
Yeah, like he was
Am I bleeding? Am I bleeding?
Nah, he's seeing if that
did.
fake hair came off.
Oh,
Hey, my
man.
hair's still here? My fake hair's still here?
Yeah. That's what I said. You got savvy vets, man. So it's gonna be a
Yeah.
great series. I'm hoping that it goes 7. I do think it'll go at least 6. I do think you get dramatic swings back and forth.
Yeah.
But I mean, the truth is that was competitive down to the fourth quarter. That 14-0 run, I'm sure had Lakers fans scared.
It did.
Oh, yeah.
It
did.
Exactly.
It did.
It seemed like, oh
it did.
man,
It
here we
had
go.
me real nervous.
Yeah,
It
that
had me
14-0
real
run.
nervous.
But then the Lakers, they were steady.
Yeah.
Like you said, they were able to weather the storm, and because they got such, they got LeBron, they got AD, they got some savvy.
They
vets,
did
and
not look panicked at all.
They did not.
Yeah.
They did not at all. So Lakers get the win in Game 1
And
of
that's
that
a big
series.
win for Darvin Ham, too. That's a big
It is a
win
big
for him. You know what I'm saying? So you sit there and you look at what he's gone through, how the beginning of the season, they made some moves that could finally come in and help him. You talked about him early. D'Angelo Russell played well.
He did
He
well.
did. He shot the ball, but he's still a liability on defense. So that's going to be something to pay attention to as the series goes on. But he, too, like Anthony Davis, those second and third games, you don't know which one you're going to get. You have to be consistent in this run right here. But the best part about it all, they have Steph and the Lakers have LeBron. So those are your calming voices that will be able to be consistent for your guys as they move on.
Yeah, Lakers. Lakers supporting cast played well.
Very well.
You're right. They played really well. I mean, you
They
talked
still
about
only
Jay-
won by 4 points, though.
They did. I mean, I think this.
I mean,
think
5 points. Yeah.
This game is going. I think this series is going to be like that. But you talked about Jared Vanderbilt. He was only 2 of 7, but in his 26 minutes, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Really effective in the short time that he played. And you start looking at the other guys like D'Angelo Russell. You brought him up. Dennis Schroeder, 19 points off the bench too, and he was really good in guarding Steph.
Yes, he
I saw
was.
that steal at half court. That
Picked
was
and clean.
very
Never happens
uncharacteristic
to Steph
of a
like
guy
that.
like Steph Curry, who's got unbelievable handles. And Steph actually led the Warriors in turnovers. He handles the rock so much. They expect it for him, but he doesn't turn the ball over, even with the usage being as high as it is. So they were able to bother him.
Yep.
They were able to. I mean, he still got his. He's Steph. He got 27 points, but they bothered him. You got 5 turnovers, which are 27 points. With Steph, I think that's job well done.
Did y'all notice that Hachimura has kind of calmed down a little bit? Remember he had that big game early in the playoffs, and everybody's like, "Oh, look at this guy!" And then all of a sudden, he's very inconsistent when it comes to making big plays for them. So that's something I'm going to be paying attention to moving forward as well.
Yeah, Austin Reeves. I mean, he was okay, but he wasn't great either. So yeah, that you're right though. That it's a thin line right here between the Warriors and the Lakers. But we'll get back into this conversation, of course, a little bit later on. Just real quick, we didn't talk about it a lot yesterday, but the Knicks with the big win. We did get into the injury. No Jimmy Butler. Knicks able to win it 111-105. Guys, even without Jimmy Butler, hell, I mean, Miami Heat were in this game.
They should have won the game, actually.
They controlled the game
Yep.
most of the game, but the Knicks were able to pull it out. Jalen Brunson had a huge performance, 30 points in that game.
Yeah.
And Julius Randle returned too. That was big for him. 25 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. He had a big game too, and the Knicks were able to get a much-needed victory.
My homeboy texted me during the game. He said, "Man, I miss Jalen Brunson more and more every single day because he's a Mavericks fan. He got season tickets to the Mavericks. He's like, every time I watch him play, I get a tear in my eye because I miss him so much in Dallas."
Yeah, I don't know if they were. Yeah, I mean that's a debate about whether they would have been truly in contention to acquire him just because
Right.
of his connections to the Knicks.
Well, when they could have signed him on that original offer.
Early on, yes,
if they would have
yes.
signed him then he would have been on one of the best deals in the NBA
Yeah,
right now.
right.
I mean, look, I was with the Mavericks too. I did not think he was going to be this guy either. So I can't blame them. But yeah, it would have been huge. I mean, how do you almost lose a game? Jimmy Butler's out.
Jimmy Butler. Did you see him giving the middle finger to the crowd as he was leaving?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
I love it.
Jimmy gonna be Jimmy. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man,
Jimmy.
Hey man, if I can't hit some shots, I'm gonna do this.
Right? No, man, Jimmy Butler. Yeah, so if they wouldn't have been able to pull that game out, the Knicks, with Jimmy Butler being, on the sideline, that would have been, I think, that'd have been trouble.
Yeah.
I think to me that spelled doom and gloom. That'd have been doomsday for them. They might have been swept potentially if they couldn't pull out a game against Miami without Jimmy. Man, but Miami, what they've done is amazing.
Right. That's the thing about
what
it.
they've done as
Right.
an organization is crazy.
Remember, we were talking trash about Kyle Lowry, and Kyle Lowry is out there balling and keeping them in ball games. And for me, if I'm the Miami Heat, that gives me a lot of encouragement. Sitting there saying we almost won this game and we didn't even have our guy. You know what I'm saying? We were in the ball game and we would definitely win this if he was in there. And they're still doing this without Tyler Hero. I don't know if they get there with Tyler Hero. I think some of the other guys have stepped up and made some good plays. Doug Robinson? Is that his name? The 55, Douglas Robinson? Yeah. He's out there shooting the ball well. He's getting a chance to play because remember, he was a forgotten man for a while. And then when the injury happened, he got some more run. And he's starting to feel his rhythm again. So, yeah, I'm scared of this one because I took New York in this series. But when Hemi comes back, because he is him, I'm a little worried. I'm not going to lie.
Take Pop out of it, Patrick. Where do you rank Eric Spoelstra among head coaches in the league?
Take Pop out of it.
Well,
I mean,
Pop is the GOAT anyway.
Yeah, currently in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, he's up there. Steve Kerr's up there.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's top
It's like
three.
top 3.
Yeah.
He's got to be. He's
So,
got to be.
yeah, no, he didn't get enough props, man. But now I think people are starting to realize. All right, we come back. We'll get into the On3 quarterback rankings. They ranked the best quarterback rooms in the country. We'll tell you where they have them Longhorns ranked. Right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104 on the Horn.
Mike Hart here, and I want to talk to you about my friends over at Quick Roofing. Texas has some crazy weather. We all know we just had some recent hail, a bunch of high winds, and, of course, that heavy rain. I know a lot of people think that they probably need to get their roofs checked. Do yourself a favor and go to quickroofing.com. Jeff Quick started Quick Roofing 39 years ago, and the reason for Quick Roofing to stay in business that long, that's because they take care of customers and they have a great reputation of customer service. Let me tell you why you should go ahead and get that free, no obligation inspection, because Quick Roofing also has a project manager on every job site, ensuring that you, the customer, get everything that you were promised. Quick Roofing is fully insured and have all state and local licenses. Quick Roofing doesn't even require any money up front until 100% completion and, of course, 100% satisfaction. And with all of that, you get a 7-year workmanship warranty. So what are you waiting for? Do yourself a favor. Reach out today and get a free inspection. Go to quickroofing.com today. That is quickroofing.com.
Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is the midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Patrick takes songs from a soundtrack that inspired him for one reason or another, plays those selections for Harge and I, and based on these selections that are played, we're supposed to gather clues and hints that lead us to the featured film of midweek movie music. And, man, little Sam Cooke. Ooh,
Sam Cooke.
wow. I believe on Craig Wade's music survey, I forgot where Sam Cooke was on it. It was like basically, I think there was a question about, or at least a category of basically artists that all-time underrated artists or something like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Somewhere that, because he was obviously was taken from us too soon. But man, people don't appreciate Sam Cooke, all-time great soul singer, soul artist.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Soulful. But it was a lot of soul. Like it was like a lot of soul before soul kind of came a thing. All right, love Patrick always DJing a midweek movie music edition. All right, Hard, you got anything? You got any suggestions?
I'm just gonna
to
throw it
hearing
out
Sam
there.
Cooke?
Is it Ray?
It is not Ray, no.
It's good.
Okay.
It's not bad at all. Yeah. All right. I'm not gonna give anything.
I mean,
down
nothing?
I
I need some help.
What do you mean? I mean,
I need some help, dog. I need give me. You might spark something in my mind.
I don't really have anything. It's just Sam Cooke, so I don't really know. I don't really have a soundtrack that I have heard a lot of Sam Cooke.
The biggest
on.
question is, was something released? You know how Patrick likes to give us something that was
I know it likes
released
to
a few
be.
years.
Sometimes it's relevant
Yeah.
around the time. I don't keep up with stuff like that. I can't. I got too much going
Well, I
on.
didn't see anything from CB today either.
See, that's how Hard gets a jump on you. Hard is researching what comes out around this time.
Researcher, he's
Yeah.
doing preparation.
Yeah,
I
for
gotta
this.
do some
boy,
preparation for
I'll
this
admit,
thing.
I do not do prep for that at all. I just kind of let that fly. But yeah, you're right. If I probably did some prep, maybe I'd have a better idea.
Yeah,
Thank you. So I should do that. All right, let's get into this On 3 quarterback rankings list. So it's not quarterback rankings; it's actually quarterback units, so quarterback rooms.
Yep.
The best and highest ranked quarterback rooms in the country. They just do 10. On 3 does 10. At number 1, they have USC. Makes sense. Caleb Williams is the projected number 1 overall pick.
And that's all you need in your room.
That alone gonna make your room
The number one
ranked
room.
as the highest ranked room. You're damn
That's
right.
right.
But it also brings up that behind the reigning Heisman winner, you have Miller Moss, a former blue chip recruit, and a 5-star freshman, Malachi Nelson.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I mean, Lincoln Riley's kind of like, Dr. Dre. I mean, if Dr. Dre said, I like this artist, I want to work with this artist. This artist
Yeah.
is damn good.
Or
Everybody
Khaled. But more Dre, because it's Khaled.
Okay, did you just put DJ Khaled in the same
People love
conversation with
Khaled.
But
People
Dr.
love
Dre is
Khaled.
an all-time great
Yeah, it doesn't have to shout his
producer.
name for people to know who it
Yeah,
is.
you can't be putting him in the same conversation with. He is good, but you can't put him in the same conversation with Dre.
Dre is in a class by himself.
Dre's a
He's
goat.
Quincy Jones.
Dre's a goat.
If I would have said Quincy Jones, would that have been
Yes.
all right? Well, let's go
Good
Quincy
Lord,
Jones.
DJ Khaled. Oh,
He's the
man,
best.
if you ask him,
He's the best.
you ask him. Goodness. But yes, getting back to it, Quincy Jones. Thank you. Better example.
All right.
If one of those guys said, "Hey, man, this artist is a great artist, and I want to work with them," everybody would flock, to Google to search and figure out who that person is. That's Lincoln Riley with quarterbacks. Lincoln Riley decides, I like a quarterback. I'm going to recruit a quarterback. That quarterback's likely to be really damn good. And if they're not good, then people are going to give him the benefit of the doubt at least because he's
And they're
got
going to make him go play somewhere else.
yeah, multiple number 1 overall pick.
Number
excuse me.
1.
And Jalen Hurts, who wasn't a first-round pick, he was a second-round pick, but now is the second highest-paid quarterback annually in the league.
And he was like Ricky Williams, had the record for the highest paid for a short period of time, and then he got trumped.
He
Yep,
did.
yep.
Yeah,
Ron
that
Dane.
that didn't last long at all. You know what? I'm sure the cash consoles him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm all right.
Yeah, he's high. LSU, guys, with the second highest ranked quarterback room, according to On 3. They say here that with 2 very viable options in Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, Daniels continues to show growth as a passer and leader, while Nussmeier, who lit it up in the SEC championship, would be the most sought after transfer quarterback if he ever decided to enter.
And
the
Daniels
portal.
was the kid from
Arizona State.
Yeah.
I liked him.
Yeah, me too.
He was a good player coming out. And, I mean, and we know Brian Kelly's just a hell of a football coach. He's a ball coach. All right, you
That's
can
why he
say what
was
you want about his
excited. He was excited
Yeah.
to go to LSU because now he can compete with the big boys.
Yeah, you can say what you want about his personality.
Yeah, yeah.
Coaches don't like him; they don't want to follow him.
and then
his
wasn't part of the family.
Exactly. His
Yeah.
questionable Southern accent that came out of nowhere. All those things are valid criticisms and concerns. But one thing he can do is coach ball.
Yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
They got Texas, gentlemen. Number 3 ranked quarterback room in the country. Of course, Quinn Ewers is the starting quarterback for the Longhorns and obviously a returning starting quarterback for the Longhorns. But what Malik Murphy showed in the spring game, and we talked about this and played sound from On3 college football analysts and 247 sports analysts as well, who were analyzing Texas spring game and said they hypothesized that he could basically be a starting quarterback for several Power 5 programs, and even hinted it for Alabama right now. If Malik Murphy wanted to go to Alabama, which is having quarterback issues,
They are.
that he might end up winning that damn job. And
Well, I'm
I
glad
don't
he
disagree with that.
I'm glad he's not yet.
No, he's not, because the transfer portal closed.
And it opens again, though.
Yes, it does.
It
Because the
does
transfer
open
portal
again.
give it, then it take it away. But right now,
I love it.
He's in.
Yeah.
He's in.
I'm glad to see it because we've all talked about Malik, and he's been that one player that everybody's been talking about. Man, what is he? Look at him. Oh my gosh, I want to see what he looks like on the field. And he finally gets on the field, and then he shows us everything that we thought we were going to see because the expectation was so high. But yeah, I like the fact that Texas is in this situation, but you start looking through all the other quarterbacks, and there are some questions with some of the other quarterbacks throughout the league and throughout the nation. So them being there that high, what the projection is for Quinn Ewers. We've already talked about the way too early mock draft positioning and Quinn being in it.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that puts him right in that middle of that conversation. And then, of course, Arch Manning being the 5-star that he is, they've already looked at him and said, okay, this is a good locker room, quarterback room.
They don't even mention there's a third-string quarterback currently.
Yeah, there
right?
is.
Austin High?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charles Wright.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
He's still there, right?
He's still there.
They don't mention him on here at all.
Well, because, they're looking at some of the other things that we saw.
Is they're assuming that Arch is going
Yeah.
to be the third-string, project quarterback. I imagine if, knock on wood, worst-case scenario happens, you end up having to play a third-string quarterback. I imagine it'd be Charles Wright and not Arch Manning.
I would think that.
But I could be wrong about that. But they said they don't mention him. But he's another guy. Obviously, you add depth and experience to that quarterback room.
Don't we have Lord in there, too? Remember, we got that other kid that came in that played in the game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the other quarterback.
Okay. Well, yeah. And Sark's resume with quarterbacks, being known for being a quarterback nurturer and a quarterback guru, that also adds to these quarterback rankings. There's no question at all. Lincoln Riley is a big reason why USC is ranked as high as they are because of his resume and his history with first-round quarterbacks and NFL quarterbacks. Sark also has a very impressive resume. Not as impressive as Lincoln Riley's right now, but you're talking about a guy who's worked with Tua, worked with Mac Jones, first-round quarterbacks, has a history working with guys like that. So I do think that's a big part of it, and there's belief that he will accelerate the development of Quinn Ewers.
No doubt.
They have Drake May and North Carolina as number 4 on this list.
I like it.
And they have Oklahoma at number 5.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, I was always a
You
big
like
fan of
Dillon
Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
Thought if he was healthy, they would have probably had a better season, but he ended up getting hurt. That's how football goes sometime, and that's why they were looking at the fresh 5-star freshman Jackson Arnold, who I believe is out of the Dallas area as well. He was a guy that was being highly recruited all over the nation, so that's why they would consider them being in there. And I believe there was a guy that McComas that not Dustin McComas. There was another McComas that was on with B&E, and he was talking about there is some controversy that is going into the fall because a lot of folks are looking at Jackson Arnold and thinking, we got this 5-star quarterback, let's give him an opportunity. But the coaching staff still looks at Dylan Gabriel as their bona fide leader.
No, that's a good point. And it goes over the best of the rest here, and he just talks about Georgia, Oregon, Tennessee, UCLA, and Ole Miss.
How do you feel about Oregon's quarterback room? we talked about Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Got Austin Novosad.
Novosad is in there too. So
And the man, I forget his name. What is the offensive coordinator that went from UTSA to Oregon that used to be at Lake Travis?
Oh God, I've
You know
got
what
it
I'm
on
talking
the
about?
tip of my tongue.
Exactly. I can't think of it right now either.
I
I'm
got
sure
it.
somebody on the Spec Text will give it to us. But I wonder because if I'm not mistaken, the time he spent there at UTSA, not most of it, all of it, I'm sure was with the quarterback that was been there forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Who and is he in the transfer portal or not? Is he out there?
No, Harris.
Yeah.
No, he's still there.
Okay,
He's coming
Frank
back
Harris?
for another year.
Another year? I was
yeah.
like, so that's what people were watching to
Yeah.
see if he might have tried to leapfrog with his OC at the time. Is it Will Stein?
Will Stein, that's it.
Will Stein.
Will Stein and Jeff Traylor's son.
Will
Yeah,
Stein.
so it's Will Stein.
Yeah, who's up there. So that didn't happen. So now I think they're focusing on just their Bo Nix
Good
situation
job
with
Will Stein. That was good.
Austin Novosad.
Yeah.
Oh, it took me forever.
Yeah. Well, he was the one that flipped Novosad from Baylor
Yes.
to the Oregon Ducks. So at the last minute, came
Yeah.
in and swooped in and got him.
Hey, man, that's what recruiting's about.
That's what
Chad
it's all
Morris
about.
is the name they're giving us on the text line.
No, it's not Chad Morris.
No.
It's not. It's Will Stein.
Yeah, but I
It's
know
Will
why
Stein.
they're saying the Chad Morris because he used to be at Lake Travis and he is a college offensive coordinator, but it's Will Stein.
It's Will Stein.
Yeah, because he was the one that worked with Hudson Card.
Hudson Card. That's
Right?
right.
Yeah,
Yep,
and everybody,
yep.
that's why everybody thought Hudson Card may
Was
try to
going
follow
there.
him up there as
Yep.
well. All right, we come back. We'll get into the flex on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie 104.9. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a beautiful city, thanks in no small part to the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482. They've been helping shape this great city since 1935, and as the city continues to grow and thrive, so does Ironworkers Local Union 482, and you see the labors of their love all over Austin, Texas, with iconic landmarks like DKR Stadium and the Pennybacker Bridge. And as the city continues to grow and thrive, so does Ironworkers Local Union 482. They don't go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting new career, right now they're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project happening right here in Central Texas. So if you've been frustrated with your work choices or your career choices, you just want something fresh, you want something new, you want a company that will value you and your contributions, how about looking into working for Ironworkers Local 482? Becoming a member, you can accept the challenge of becoming the best version of yourself while helping shape Austin's economic development. You can become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So maximize your potential and be your best self today. Just apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie. That's when Patrick plays jams from a particular soundtrack, and based on those selections, Harge and I are supposed to gather clues and hints that lead us to the featured film of midweek movie music. Okay? From Sam
Zero
Cooke
clue.
to this. Yeah, this took me way off. All right, I got nothing. Harge, you got another Hail Mary?
Nothing. I'm
Man.
punting.
Oh man, this seems like whatever movie it's for, this would be for us. This would stand out to me.
Yeah.
I wonder if I've seen this movie.
I think you have.
This wasn't a for sure. I know you have.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a for sure.
Okay, I wonder if
Think
I've
you have.
seen the movie actually. Okay, is it a sports movie?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. All right. So maybe the Specs text line's doing better than we are.
There's a couple people who've gotten it.
already.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good for them.
Nice.
All right. Okay. We'll try to do better next time. Usually, Patrick takes it easy on us when he starts off the 4 o'clock hour. That's usually the softball. If we don't get that one,
Then we weren't even close to the
yeah, he
ballpark.
just takes pity on us and just drops it for us. So, all right. We'll get to that coming up next segment. But in the meantime, time for your flex, flxatx.com, flxatx on all of your social media platforms. Go check it out for yourself. Tonight, you got the Wednesday Night Flex.
There it is.
So the Flex crew tonight
It's a
will
flex.
have, yes, all of your Flex updates. The crew, and they're deep, man. You got Zach Lucero, I'm sure, is going to be here. Cameron always shows up to wreck shop a little bit.
The
And
Seed.
The Seed, Nolan Hogan shows up as
Yeah.
well. Hell, even I've seen Ty a couple of times randomly just come out and hang out. So it's a lot of folks hanging out for the Flex crew. So we appreciate all of their hard work. So just go check out flxatx.com, flxatx on all of your social media platforms.
And make sure you shout out to the softball girls. They're out there in the
Yes.
playoffs. They're getting it ready. Bowie, Vista Ridge, Dripping Springs, Round Rock, Eastview, Georgetown, Pflugerville, Elgin, Hayes, Liberty Hill, Fredericksburg. I don't even know if that's in our area, but Taylor as well are all into the second round of the playoffs.
There you go. All right. My man Harge is actually. Have you been to any? Because the baseball season is almost done, right?
They start playoffs Thursday, so
So
I'll be at some baseball
You're gonna
games
go
tomorrow.
some. You're gonna go some
Yeah.
playoff games.
Yeah.
This all
This
right.
is
I know
the
you
senior year for a lot of the kids that I've known for a very long
That's
time. This
Coach
is
Harge?
That's Coach Harge. This will be the last go for them. So I need to get out there and check them out before the season ends.
All right, so my man Harge always working hard, so he'll have some flex updates for you about the baseball playoffs coming
No
up
doubt.
later on this week. All right, we come back, we'll get into the news coming out of Dallas that Micah Parsons going full time to the defensive end spot. Also, Cowboys could be looking for solutions for wide receiver depth in the free agent market. Texans considering chemistry when drafting weaponry for their new franchise quarterback. Rojo and Bijan getting rave reviews already at the NFL level just days after the draft. And we'll talk about Randall Cobb to the Jets. A ton of NFL news, notes, and nuggets on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie. I want to put on the horn.
Mike Hart here, and I want to talk to you about my friends over at Pest Wranglers. Do yourself a favor, go to pestwranglers.com, and they will help you out. They will come out and give you an estimate, let you know what's going on. They won't make you sign a contract because they believe if you keep your customers happy, you will keep them as customers. It's a beautiful concept, and I know that it's locally owned. It's a small family business, and it's been around since 2006. So do yourself a favor. Go to pestwranglers.com or give them a call at 512-670-7808 and let them come out and give you an assessment. They can take care of mosquitoes, termites, even those little rodents that are running around. If you're trying to open up a business and you need an inspection Or if you're trying to buy a home and you need that residential inspection, they can do it for both residential and commercial properties. Again, call them at 512-670-7808 or go to their website at pestwranglers.com. As I told you, they won't make you sign a contract because they just want to see you happy. And if you're happy, you're going to tell a friend, and they're going to tell a friend, and they're going to tell a friend. And even if you want to give them a 5-star review, go and do it on Google, Yelp, Angie's List, and all other referral sites. That is pestwranglers.com. And my pest of the week, pitching staffs. Guys, go out there and just throw strikes. Don't try to fool people. I'm in the agreement that if you throw me a fastball, I may hit it, I may not. But give me a chance. Don't walk me. Make sure you throw strikes. That's my pest of the week. Go out there and throw strikes. pestwranglers.com.
All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn, midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie. That's when Patrick plays songs from a particular soundtrack, and based on the selections that are played, Harge and I are supposed to gather clues and hints that lead us to the featured film of midweek movie music. And Harge, you think you got it?
I mean, it's that time, right? I mean, it come out this week. Garden of the Galaxy. Is this 1, 2, or 3?
3.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out Friday.
Yeah.
This is the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 soundtrack that came out actually the same time this week, 5 years or
See, I
6
knew
years
it was
ago.
something that was around.
So Guardians of
Yeah.
the Galaxy
Yeah.
2 came out 6 years ago around this time. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out Friday, I believe.
Okay, so you're right, Harge. You guys got to study the anniversaries, the movie anniversaries of the week.
Well, I was
And
trying to
then-
picture where that song was, that very first song, the Sam Cooke one. I was trying to, now that went back to it, I was trying to think of what scene that was.
I can't really think of it either. But all the Guardians of the Galaxy
They
soundtrack are
always
really good.
and they always
Yeah.
got those old music, old music in it.
Because he has the tape player, the Walkman or whatever, that he walks around with all the time, or flies around
Yeah.
with. Sorry, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
If you haven't seen one of
They're
them,
like, what
you
rabbit?
better
I
catch
don't
up
know.
this week.
You better catch up this week. Actually, I don't think they've made a bad one yet. So actually, I might go see that in the theaters. Your son is really into the Marvel universe and
For
all that
sure.
stuff. So
For
you'll
sure.
probably end up going
and we
to see
actually
it too.
have a little free time this weekend that might be on our schedule.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, so Patrick said he didn't know if I had seen it. Like he said, he thought I had seen it. Yeah, I've definitely seen it.
Yeah.
Seen all the Guardians of the Galaxy.
There you go.
So that's it. They Bring It On Home to me was Star-Lord and Gamora dancing together.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I should have gotten that one. That was a good one though, because that soundtrack is so eclectic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the place. They got all types of great stuff in there. It's rock in there, soul in there, R&B
they
is
got
in there.
It's a
everything.
solid
Yeah.
soundtrack, and then
Yeah.
the timing of it worked out this week. So it's like, all right, let's
good
put that
stuff,
one in there.
Good stuff there. Patrick always doing a great job. And my man Harge got it. Took a little while, but he ended up getting it. Specs text line wide open for you, 512-337-3776. You also can hit us up via Twitter, Harge at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse. My man Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. All right, gentlemen, let's get to this Cowboys news because it is really big news because the Dallas Cowboys have decided, or at least Micah Parsons is announcing. I don't even know if the Cowboys wanted him to say this, but he put it out there. And I think Jerry Jones likes it. He's putting it out there. The inevitable, which we all knew was going to happen, just didn't know when it was going to happen, is happening this season, 2023, for Micah Parsons. He's moving full-time to the edge rusher position. It's been reported by Clarence Hill of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Chill, who courtesy of my man Harge and his extensive contact list. Yeah, we've had him on the show a couple of times, and Chill always breaking news for the Cowboys. And he is reporting that Cowboys Pro Bowl linebacker Micah Parsons is not participating in the team's offseason program. He is working out in Austin.
Yep. We've been seeing it.
There you go, adding bulk and weight to be a full-time defensive end. He says he's going to return with the Cowboys, I should say, for OTAs as a full-time defensive end. He tweeted out, people hear bulk, he said, LOL, people hear bulk and think I'm going from 246 to 270. If you've seen any of my videos, I'm still very slim and I'm putting on good weight. I'm standing at 252 currently. I will not surpass 255 at any time in my career. This is just me putting on more muscle to carry the load and to deal with the wear and tear of playing on the edge. And you got to bulk up because you got to be a run defender now too, and teams are going to run right at Micah Parsons. But yeah, I mean, he says he's not going to get past 255. He might just a little bit, just because if he's going to put on a ton of muscle, and he's already just a ball of muscle anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, muscle weighs more than fat. So I wouldn't doubt if he ends up getting closer to 260, you know what I mean, between 255 and 260. But obviously that's just semantics. He's got to put on weight to go full-time at defensive end.
Yeah.
I still think Dan Quinn will move him around. I still think you'll see Micah move, at stand-up position in a two-point stance, and you'll see him in the three-point stance at defensive end. Also think you're going to see him still at that stand-up linebacker as like kind of an outside wheel linebacker at times. I think you're going to see that. And nobody in the NFL runs more twists and stunts than the Dallas Cowboys with Dan Quinn's system. So you're going to see him being able to be matched up on weaker pass blockers than just whoever they're right tackle or their left tackle is. So he'll find ways to get him advantageous matchups. But to move him full time to defensive end, I wouldn't have announced it, honestly.
Right.
I wouldn't have announced. I don't know why.
But that's Micah.
Micah's
out there just talking.
Clarence Hill and Clarence, yeah, I guess, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Micah's out there. He's doing an interview. He's at this place, and he's like, "Nah, I've been working out at defensive end. I'm trying to put on this weight. That's what I'm gonna be doing this year full time." What? Like, that's supposed to be a surprise.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I bet you there's something in there where he's like, let me just state this now for the record. D ends make more money, and I am a defensive end. If y'all try and pay me like a linebacker, y'all in for trouble. I am a defensive end.
That is fair, but you can still, it doesn't matter really because he's not going to get franchise tagged. You're going to pay him like the best defensive player in the league.
But I'm just
yeah, I know that's like, but that's for like franchise tag players. Like, oh, franchise tag, he's going to be paid like a defensive end. He's going to be the highest paid defensive player in the history of the league. Period.
They're probably working on that right now.
Yeah, that's just so. I agree with Patrick. You're right.
And David Mugoleta is involved with that as well.
Yeah, Patrick's point is right. Usually. Players, we've seen Jimmy Graham do it. We've seen other players decide, no, I want to be classified as this because, yes, I'll be making more money in case the franchise tag. But most of those have been franchise tag situations.
And Jimmy classified himself out of making money, too.
Yes, because
Jimmy did that to himself.
But in this situation specifically, Mike is just going to be the highest paid defensive player in the history of the NFL. We all agree with that, right?
Yeah, no
Whenever
doubt.
he's
no
up.
doubt. Yeah. For a short period of time until somebody else get that money.
Yes, of course. So, and for that, I don't understand why it has to be an announcement. But the Cowboys didn't do it. He did it.
Yes.
And I hope it's actually not full time. I hope it's like 80% of the time. I still hope you move him around situationally.
He's too valuable.
He's too valuable.
Yes.
And you can get advantageous matchups moving him around.
Yep.
So
I agree with you 100% on that.
I hope I'm glad they're moving him there. And Patrick brought a good point about the value of the defensive end. But I mean, I don't know if the value really matters with Michael. They're gonna just pay him. Like
they're gonna give him his bread.
Who is the highest paid defensive player in the history of the league right now? Is it Aaron Donald or somebody?
I think it is Aaron Donald, actually.
I'm sure it's like Aaron Donald
or it can't be. I mean, Aaron Donald was the one, but again, it's one of those things. You look at it, it's like it's brief. He was at one point.
I can't think of what defensive player signed the last mega deal.
Yeah.
Blockbuster deal.
Well, I'm about to tell you here in a second.
It's been a little while. But either way, Mike is going to be that guy. And then, honestly, on the same defense, Trevon Diggs is going to be the highest paid cornerback in NFL history.
Yeah.
Year one, Michael spent 374 snaps on the defensive line, 498 at linebacker. Year two, 738 on the D-line, 171 at linebacker. So this has been a progression.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been happening. They want him more on the defense at the defensive end spot, and they have been, like I said, slowly, gradually. I don't even know if it's slowly or gradually. They have been progressing toward this point.
Yeah, this is something that we've been waiting for. We've been talking about it, and the way that he's played has gotten everybody's thought process quicker than normal. They're like, okay, Micah's going to be coming up. We've been talking about it. Jerry trying to do the books. We talked about Steven over there cooking them, talking about Catboy, trying to figure out where he's going to move money around. Micah is going to get his no matter what. And now the biggest question for Micah, how long is the contract going to be for? Because he's going to be paid the most as per year. Yeah. But how many years are you going to give him on that deal? That's the other part too.
Players should want shorter-term deals, and the team should want longer-term deals. So they'll probably try to get him for 5. Michael will probably try to get in for 4 years.
So they have on Spot Track, they got Khalil Mack as the highest paid defensive player.
Okay.
And his value is $141 million.
Okay.
But Joey Bosa is 135, Myles Garrett 125, Von Miller was 120, TJ Watt, he's another one that is going to be up for a lot of money here pretty soon. TJ Watt's going to get some bread.
Yeah, TJ Watt's annual average value is $28 million. Aaron Donald's at $31 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Joey Bosa's at $27
million.
Myles Garrett's at $25.
Yep.
So Micah, we're saying he's gonna get paid 30.
30
you got to give 35,
31, 32
I mean,
million?
if Aaron Donald's at 31 right now,
he's gonna get 32 million
at least
a year.
At least. Yeah.
And you're going to pay Trevon Diggs how much a year?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Who's the highest paid corner?
I'm about to see
Ramsey?
it right now.
One of those guys?
Yeah.
So you're going for 2 players, you're going to end up paying Close to
Jair Alexander, I believe.
Yeah, you might be right. Packers.
21 million.
Okay, so you're gonna end up paying $50 million for 2 players on defense
That's why you can't
next
do it.
season.
Can't do it.
Wow. Well, I mean, not next season, but just in the next couple of years, whenever you decide to extend those guys.
Oh.
Wow, how you feel about that, Harge, as a Cowboys fan? Well, I mean, the salary cap increases every year.
Yep, we
About
talked about
10%.
What do I always say about the quarterback? What did the market dictate for that? So if you're going to pay that and the market's going to tell you got to pay this guy, you just told us $21 million was the number. So you're going to give him 23? You're going to give him 25?
Oh, you gonna have to.
You know what I'm saying? To your point, $50 million for 2 positions that, as you said.
Well, they are premium positions.
And not the market, but the salary cap is going to go up and up and up. So you're going to have some wiggle room in there. You just got to make sure you cook in the other part. It's like DraftKings. When you go to DraftKings, you go over there and you pick these people. You got a salary cap that you can work with. Now, you can go pay X amount of dollars for a Rom or a Rory McIlroy, but you're going to have to fill out the bottom half of that too, and you're going to be getting some guys that you may not like. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to have to get them.
You're going to have
to get them.
I love this texter here. Says 2 texts here from the same texter. DeMarvion Overshown is definitely going to get a lot of playing time now. This is great for DeMarvion Overshown.
It's outstanding.
It really is. Now,
the learning curve happens now.
Yeah, you've cleared the path. You got LVE there, and they like Damone Clark. Those are their 2 top linebackers they love. But for some reason, they became disinterested in Jabril Cox late down the stretch. I don't know what's going on there. I still like Jabril Cox, but DeMarvion Overshown can come right in there with the lack of linebacker depth now and immediately try to compete to get on that 2 deep, potentially.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're in a passing down and on one end of the line, you got Micah Parsons and Overshown blitzing you on one side, Mozzie Smith in the middle, keeping you trying to push 2 guys. Like, how many guys can you allocate to that side of the field on that pass rush?
That's a great point, man. Now, you're right about that. And I wonder with the Cowboys because actually I got a number here about the Cowboys and their defenses. Patrick just brought it up. He just made such a great point. I just want to piggyback on that because this stat astounded me. It was mind-blowing. So the Cowboys' rush success rate on defense. Success rate is first down, you get or you basically keep a team from getting 50% of the yardage needed for the first down. On second down, it's 70%. So you keep a team from getting at least 70%. And on third and fourth down, it's 100%. That's the way success rate works, right? And the Cowboys' rush success rate on defense with Jonathan Hankins on the field last year was 74%. To give you perspective, the best run defense in the NFL last year, success rate, was 73%. So when Jonathan Hankins was on the field last year, a true nose tackle on the field, they were the best rushing defense in the league, essentially. That's why they drafted.
That's why you do that.
Yeah, and let's also point out
that's why they got a really expensive plunger.
Yeah, And when I say that too,
gold-plated one.
Remember you got Lawrence on the other side of the field too. So if you try and help one way, you're giving a free path to another good pass rusher.
I wouldn't doubt, guys, honestly, now looking at this news, if they go, I know it sounds crazy, sometimes Mozzie and Jonathan Hankins on the field together as their D tackles, and then just have on the edge Micah and Marcus Lawrence.
DeMarcus Lawrence, yeah.
And I know they like Oza Odighizuwa too, so I'm not saying he's not going to be in there.
He's going to get some play.
I bet situationally, depending on who they play, like they play a team that really wants to run the rock.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't doubt against Philadelphia, who wants to run the rock, and they got the tush push and all that. Man, we putting our 2 best run stoppers on the field together. So we know you're not going to be able to run in the A and the B gaps.
Right.
We just got to defend.
Right.
We just got to make sure we defend them edges, and we got our best players on the edges.
Yeah, I like that.
Man,
I like that.
Right? Because
I like that.
That's why that Mozzie Smith pick was made. Because it was like, we love what Jonathan Hankins does. What if we can get a Jonathan Hankins for 4 years in his prime?
Yeah,
instead of just getting a mercenary player. That was a phenomenal stat there. Anyway, we'll get some more. We'll get into that a little bit more, but I want to talk Texans now because we just talked a lot about the Cowboys. Also, Texter here brought up a good point about those contracts for for Micah Parsons and for Trevon Diggs. You got to front load those contracts. Get to Patrick's point about the cash over cap.
That's what I'm saying. You got to do that.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
I think more contracts need to be that way.
That's why I don't know. I would.
If I'm a player and I'm talking to my agent, give me my money now.
Yeah, why not go for a short-term, fully guaranteed deal? I know it sounds
I've
crazy.
never
but
understood that.
3 years, I'll give you the whole thing, fully guaranteed. But I want
Right.
your stuff off my books as fast as
Exactly.
possible. I'm gonna give you the whole. I'm gonna
You're
give you most of it in a
guaranteed.
big chunk up front.
Yes.
and then we're gonna have a salary cap cushion, if you will, for 3 years with you.
That's what I've never understood that. I've never understood as a player why you don't want all your money up front. Look at what Kirk Cousins was able to do. Mm-hmm. He was out there betting on himself and just basically telling you, give me all my cash now.
And they were all short-term
and
deals.
Yes, and then you could do whatever you want with me after that.
They were
but
one
I
year-
got
yeah.
my bread.
They were 1 year and a 3-year deal. They were short-term
Right,
deals.
right.
I think a team is a lot. They may be. I guess it depends on their situation, but I think that they may be more open to the possibility of a fully guaranteed deal, which is really short,
And I'm thinking about
and
it
then
too.
you can be off their
haven't-
books.
Yeah.
I haven't
fast.
read this yet, but I wanted to know what is your allotment for bonus money, for signing bonus. What's your cap on that?
I don't know if there is a cap.
That's what
That's
I'm
a
saying.
great
So there it
question.
is right there. So
I don't think there is.
But your cap is what your check account. Your check
Exactly.
account.
How
Oh, yeah,
liquid,
what
how
your-
liquid
my
are you?
checking and my savings, my
how
savings and
liquid,
my
How much
seconds.
liquid
Yeah.
cash do you have as a billionaire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some
Yeah.
of these guys don't because they're a billionaire because they own a football team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they own land.
Yeah.
They're worth a lot. But
Yeah, like I mean, if we
liquid.
can look at the Oakland A's, I know it's baseball, but they have a possum in their stadium, and
yeah.
it just lives there because they are too cheap
To get it
remove
killed
a
out.
possum.
Yep, I agree.
So when you talk about paying players, some billionaires choose not to remove possums. So saying here's $30 million, let me write you a check
Yeah.
is a stretch
I like
for some
that.
of these billionaires.
I like that.
the
I like
cheap,
that.
nothing worse than a cheap billionaire.
Yeah.
You're a billionaire.
That's why I
Don't
am
be-
one.
That's why they are one.
That's
You're
why
right. That's
I
why
am
I'm
one.
not one.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not even a cheap thousandaire. So
I'm not a cheap hundredaire. I tip well for a
Yeah, you know what I
hundredaire.
mean? I've shared way too much with people that I care about. So yeah.
Exactly.
All right, let's
We've
get
all
to
been there,
yeah,
bro.
we've all been there. There you go. Let's get to the Texans. Something that I care about, and Patrick does as well. There's some interesting news. There was an interesting story from Tank Dell, the wide receiver that was drafted by the Texans. And he shared a story that I thought was pretty interesting. And I saw that Patrick saw it too. And I believe we got the audio
Yes.
from it. Patrick's always working hard for us. Here's audio. And this is Tank Dell, the wide receiver from U of H. One of the top wide receivers in the country coming out of U of H last season. I believe he led the country in receiving yards. He's one of the
He was
very
one of
prolific.
them.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
one of the most prolific receivers in the country. Well, Texans drafted him, and turns out there's a reason the Texans zeroed in on Tank Dell. Not only because he's kind of a hometown product because he went to U of H, but also because apparently C.J. Stroud was one of his biggest fans.
Like right after the combine, we was texting each other and stuff like that. And he was just telling me like, man, he talked to me after the combine. He was just like, boy, I like how you run routes, like how you play football. He said he been watching me and stuff like that. And then I told him the vice versa, and I appreciated him and stuff like that. And then like I think it was like after he got drafted, I sent him congrats. And then I was like, tell him come get me. I told him to tell him come get me and stuff like that. And then he was like, I got you, trust me. And then the next day, I think he called me, he FaceTimed me out of nowhere. Like I texted him. Yeah, I texted him and he FaceTimed me. And then he was like, man, I told him I want you, yada, 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 this, that, and the third. So I was like, okay, it can happen. And then, I got that call.
This, that, and the third.
And the third.
I like that.
You know what
I'm
I'm
gonna
saying?
start using that.
I've been around that for a long time. Yeah.
Hey, okay. Should we explain what this, that, and the third is?
No, we want people to go Urban Dictionary to find
this,
that out.
This, that, and the third. Essentially, I think it means basically all of that. And more.
some.
And all
Yeah.
that and more.
And
all
some.
of that and more
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
It's
the
almost, you ever seen the Seinfeld yada, yada, yada?
Because he does the yada 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 before.
Yeah.
He does that in the third. He does both.
Yeah.
So he does. He
He's
uses
got balance.
both.
He's got balance.
So he uses the old school version of it and the
Yeah.
new school
Yes.
version of it. I love that.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna like me some Tank Dell, man. That's pretty
Dude,
good.
anytime you have an 185-pound guy named Tank,
That
I'm
is
a
right.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
I'm a fan
5'8" too.
of like, hey man, watch out, Tank's coming. He comes around the corner like, where's Tank at?
Like Debo
No, that's a good
on
point.
his bike.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those ironic nicknames where.
No, because I looked it up.
What is it?
So when he was born, he had a really big head. And his mom was like, oh, you're going to be big. So she started calling him Tank when he was a baby because he had a really big head.
Didn't work out.
It didn't work out that way, but he still made it to the NFL.
Yep.
5'8", 165. His mama thought he was going to be big.
Yeah, he's like, you got a big head.
He plays big. He plays big.
He plays big.
He's a third-round pick for the Texans out of a U of H. And you go look at it, man. He's unsigned right now, but he's a third-round pick. But he went to Alabama A&M first, I believe. Right? He went to a community college. He had kind of a, he had a different route than most would have to the NFL, at least even to U of H, because he ended up going to Alabama A&M, then going to a community college, and then going to Houston. But once he got to Houston, I mean, like I said, this guy was extremely prolific. 109 receptions, over 1,300 yards, damn near 1,400 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Was the leading receiver in the country in a lot of those categories. And what I love, though, and we talked about this too, the NFL is now starting to consider chemistry with their quarterbacks and their wide receiving combinations.
Yep.
We saw it with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, Tua and Jalen Waddle. Even when Derek Carr and Devontae Smith, they were trying to reunite them. Devontae Adams, trying to reunite them. That was about chemistry. Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown, that was about their chemistry before. It is something that is really tough to quantify, but now the NFL actually is considering it as a data point when they bring their players, or when they acquire players and try to bring them together. Hell, even look at Aaron Rodgers, man. He brought two of his own damn receivers to the Jets.
Man.
Brought Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard.
Come on, man.
I got to have my guys.
And I got to have a friend like Aaron Rodgers in my life.
Hey, don't we all?
I mean, goodness
Come on.
gracious.
For real. I'm with you on that. But that's probably a little the extreme.
Yeah, that
example
is.
of it.
I'm like, goodness gracious.
But even the Cowboys, remember recently Dak said the Cowboys asked him his thoughts on drafting, I believe it was Jalen Tolbert was last season because he was a big fan. And even this season he said, they've given me film on the receivers they like, and then I give them my opinion.
Yep.
So I think you're starting to see more of that, and maybe it's because they're starting to consider the opinions of the QBs.
Yeah, I think it also is good for rookies when you go, man, you're going into a really intimidating situation with a lot of veterans, and it's all kind of new to you. You're moving to a new town. You're doing all these things. To have some guys that already have a little bit of chemistry together just in the locker room, just so it's not so overwhelming every step of every day, being like, man, I'm doing this, and I go, and I don't know anybody in this town, so I may fall in the wrong group or that. I've got another guy on my team, and we can kind of be there for each other at those points. I think it helps out for young guys to have a little bit of safety net, because it is a lot to take in very quickly that C.J. Stroud goes from, hey, man, you're a part of a machine at Ohio State, to now, hey, you're expected to turn around one of the worst franchises in the NFL.
Yeah.
You're the face of it. You got to turn around, and people want wins this year because we traded away next year's pick. So we expect wins this year.
No, that's a good point, because maybe they think, you need a friend. You need a great player too,
You need
but
somebody
you
to
might
be
also need a
comfortable
friend
around you.
Yeah, Kyler Murray did the same thing. They were like, man,
Yep.
you need a friend. We're going to go get Marquise Brown for you. So I agree with that. I think Philadelphia considers that too. They're
Yeah,
drafting
they
all those
did.
teammates. They're like, nah, man, these guys play well together. They'll have a easier transition because they'll do it together.
And a better
They can walk
understanding
each
of
other
what
all
it's
right through
about.
it. No, I totally agree. That's a great point there, Patrick. All right, what you got coming up in Harsh Knock Life?
I got this story that has come across that is pretty interesting, and it has to do with baseball and betting.
Ooh.
And it's not good.
Oh.
And it's on the college level. So we'll talk a little bit about it.
All right, we'll come back. We'll get into that. My man Harsh talking about betting in baseball right here on
Aye.
Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about Dr. Greg Eckert and his all-star team. That's right, because they can handle any concerns about your dental health or dental hygiene, even dental anxiety. A lot of you out there got dental anxiety, and that's understandable. What you need to know about Dr. Greg Eckert and his fantastic team is that they specialize in easing that anxiety. They also specialize in any general dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure that you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his team are all about. And right now, Dr. Eckert can give you a brand new smile in just one day. Yeah, we're talking about permanently secured to your dental implants. What I love about Dr. Greg Eckert is he's always on the cutting edge of the technological advances in dentistry. And right now, he can give you a brand new smile in just one day. No time spent without teeth. We're talking about temporary fixtures until you can complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. It's a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, call Dr. Greg Eckert today. It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but everything to gain, because Dr. Greg Eckert understands that a brand new smile can truly change your life. A confident smile can really change your life in this Instagram world that we live in. So give him a call, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166, or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com.
Welcome back to the midweek movie theme edition of Ball Don't Lie. And our theme of the week is Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. Part 2. And thanks to everybody that hit us up on the Specs text line. My man Rob Babers, follow him at Rob Babers. You can follow my man Patrick Davis at Patrick Davis. And, of course, hit us back up on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. As somebody that dabbles in a little bit of the wagers, thanks to my man Rob Babers for letting us know about mybookie.com. That is mybookie.com. I go over there and frequent it just to sometimes look at the lines and see how things change. And one of the sports that I really like to get into is obviously football. Everybody's on the football bandwagon that if you do wager, everybody loves doing it on football. So you start looking at different lines, and when football's over, you start dabbling in other things. Well, baseball season is around us, and I haven't really dove into the college side of it. I mean, it's so emotional. It's one of those sports that you sit there and you're like, okay, you don't know if this pitcher's got enough work. You don't know if he's dealing with an injury. There's so many different things that are going on when you're looking at college baseball. Some teams stay true. If you're looking at the LSU Tigers, you're always thinking, okay, they're at the top. They've been number one all season, so you kind of look and see what their run differential is, see what their pitching's like. Paul Skeens, who everybody wanted, when he pitches, you might want to look at it and say, okay, he's number one. He's probably going to go number one overall. So you start looking at some of those. But some of the other games, there's some things that happen in it that you're kind of questioning. We've seen some crazy scores. You don't know if you're going to bring a guy, a pitcher out of the bullpen that hadn't pitched. Those midweek games kind of is whoever is available that time, right? You might get some guys some work. So you never know. Over, unders, money lines, and all these different things. Well, Ohio, the state of Ohio, which has been regulated for gambling in that state, decided to halt betting on Alabama's baseball after suspicious activity happened during a couple of the series. And the series just happened to be against LSU. Some suspicious activity was going on during that. And that's the other part. So here's the thing. We've talked about it all the time. They build those buildings for a reason.
Yeah, they do.
They understand the lines and how to come up with them and all this other stuff. They know something that's going on. Well, the other day, this story came out May 1st. The story came out that there was suspicious activity involving Alabama versus LSU on Friday. And it goes on to tell you that they have an acceptance to stop wagering effective immediately in the state of Ohio on all Alabama baseball games, which is very interesting because Alabama normally is a decent baseball team. So for this to have suspicious activity is interesting to me. And when the wager was made, there was a wager that was made in the middle of the game that was a parlay. There was a parlay that was there, and another one was straight up money on the money line, which drew a flag, right? Because there, you go on the websites, you got live betting. You can go on there and you can see it and say, all right, this is going on at this time.
Yep.
But there was a large bet that was made during that time. Now, I've been around a lot of friends, and even I've done this, where you start chasing. You start chasing it. And you're like, you make a large bet,
Try
which
to get
is
it all
kind
back.
of, you're up against
get it all back.
You're up against it. But I guess when this person was making this wager and the people that were making it, it kind of made a red flag because they do monitor what you do, and is this out of your character, right? So you start paying attention to a lot of it. The Louisiana Gaming Control Board told NoLook.com on two specific bets that were made in Cincinnati triggered suspicious activity alert. And I told you it was the parlay, and then the other one was a straight-up bet. Because there is no national gaming regulator, a halt on wagering typically happens on a state-by-state basis. So there might have been, you start seeing it, you start calling people out, you start looking at it, you're like, okay, we might need to pull this group because they don't just do it for one. There had to be a system of these things that you saw a trend from this person. And I don't know if it's a group. I don't know if it's you move money here and tell this guy, hey, here's the money, go bet this. There's strange activities that
Something's
happen.
happening.
But the thing that bothers me the most is now we talked about this before, and I think everybody's talked about this. When you start wagering and putting bets on college sports, and you have them in the stadiums, you have them in different places. In Louisiana, you have them now where you can just walk into the sports book in New Orleans and you can place a bet now.
Straight cash. Only.
Yeah, I was there. I was looking at it. I've done it there in New Orleans. So you start looking at now it's starting to monitor suspicious activity. So my question to both of you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be baseball, but is this something that we should probably be looking at that might concern you a little bit later in other sports? We know the stories about wagering in football. We've heard about that. We also knew about the stories a while back when it came to basketball. There were some shady doings with Arizona State back in the day. And then we've also heard about it with the referees that have been involved in some of these games that have kind of changed the way the games are being called, let alone if we talked about it yesterday. There were some sketchy calls. There was no defense being played in some of the games. There weren't calls on the fouls. I mean, I'm not saying that's the conspiracy right now, but does this start to raise red flags all the way across the board in all sports at this time?
Well, the NFL's got they have their protocols and a system in place, software, whatever it is, with certain
They've already
gambling,
been getting snitching on.
Yeah, certain gambling apps and certain gambling entities.
And where the bet was made.
They have agreed, I believe, to give the NFL information about certain players who may be gambling on their apps or using their services. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think everybody's on a bit of a red alert right now. I do think there is, just because it's become now more mainstream, the gambling thing, and it's going to continue to be more mainstream, that they still want to make sure that they can keep it away from the actual field of play and as close to the field of play as possible. That's why the NFL, you can argue, overreacts to a player getting caught gambling. And oftentimes you'll read the details and go, so he was just gambling on an app about some fantasy thing, and it didn't really relate to his team or anything like that. Like, yeah, because the NFL wants to overreact because they want it to be a deterrent.
Yes, you want it to be
for
gone.
that behavior.
That's right.
Because they are scared of players actually, using their status as players on rosters to try to change the results of games based on betting sites and betting trends.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's happening, but it's a fear. It's definitely a fear of these leagues,
right?
And professional and college.
No doubt. And someone just asked me, was it for or against? Was the bet for LSU?
Exactly.
You don't know.
They don't
It
know.
didn't say.
They didn't say.
But the wager was substantial enough, and it had to have happened multiple times with Alabama for them to pull all Alabama games offline. It didn't say anything about LSU. It said Alabama. So there may have been suspicious activity throughout time that involved Alabama. So that is why this has been a question. And now you start looking at your players too. You talked about it before, where you just brought it up, where you talk about they have apps and they've got software to track where you're placing your bet from. Because the reason why some of these players, not Ridley, he's obscure from this, but the reason why the Detroit Lions players got in trouble, they were betting while they were at the facility.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be able to bet at the facility, and we know the rules are out there, so you should be smart enough to know if you're going to make a wager, make a phone call to somebody that's not at the facility and don't bet there. So there's things that you can bet on, but it can't be your sport. But the suspiciousness of Alabama sports was that, boom, you can be betting. There's something going on with Alabama baseball, not everybody else.
No, I will say I think it's a positive thing on one side to say a lot of this has probably been happening for years and years, and is so much of it gets not seen, and then it's just the conspiracy theory of, well, we think this guy was point shaving, or we think that. And now they're going, well, now with technology, we can tell you a lot easier when things seem fishy. Like you're saying, this was caught not by a person who went, not by a pit boss, how in Vegas it used to be like, hey, let's watch this because this guy, he's wearing different hats and cashing in different, and he's bringing up bags and betting in 5 different casinos.
Right.
they can now go, oh no, we're tracking his betting history, and it's showing us he has a system, and the system doesn't play with how you play fairly in gambling.
Right. I don't know if there
So I
ever
think,
is that.
well, no, but I
No,
mean,
I know
for
what you
fairly, I
mean.
mean, they
Yeah.
have the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Fair
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
them,
No,
yeah.
I'm with you. No,
But I think there is a positive side to it of, hey, man, if we're stopping it more because they're able to check it now at a higher level, and you're able to stop it from, hey, man, the scrub on this Alabama baseball team is trying to ruin college baseball for everyone else on that team because he's trying to point shave one pitcher, or one hitter is trying to point shave because they're trying to make some money, and the rest of the team is basically going to be hit with it, and they can go, no, here's a guy. This guy did it. We found it out. Once the coaches found it out, if staff found out, everything stopped and we fixed it all, is better than, well, it was a problem for 3 years. Now the program is on suspension for 8 years.
Right.
None of these players all had to transfer. Like, I think
our program is dead.
Yeah, there could be
Yeah.
more positives of being able to figure it out faster and deal with it immediately as opposed to letting it spiral out of control.
And somebody, Chan said, was it AI that flagged the authorities? Possibly.
Honestly, it might be some AI type of technology
Right.
that helps them kind of
Right.
keep up with these guys and where they're betting, how much they're betting. And we don't know, since there are a lot of details, we don't know how, what the level of duplicity was with this bet or deception. It could have just been somebody's uncle that's getting inside information
From
from
the
a
locker room.
training staff
Yep.
guy
Yep.
or equipment guy or whatever it is. Like they may not even be directly tied to the program.
Correct.
Just like indirectly tied to the
Might
program.
be somebody
But-
that just follows this program so closely and
Exactly.
realizes this dude is terrible.
Yes.
So I'm going to bet he's going to strike out in this situation.
Yeah.
Or, because everybody talks about analytics, maybe he's taking it to another level
Yeah.
on what he's seen in the trends from this team.
If you're betting huge amounts of money,
Right.
uncharacteristic with your betting habits,
Exactly.
they may go and winning.
In winning.
Because first of all, this is all about that person is winning.
Yeah.
Because they weren't
'Cause, yeah,
winning.
they wouldn't say nothing.
Because
Exactly.
this happens all the time, the lopsided version of it, where these people
Exactly.
do this and they lose.
Dudes losing houses
They
and
think
stuff
they
like
know
this.
something and
Yeah.
they don't, but this person must be winning because
Yeah.
they're winning and people really don't get over on the house. The house usually wins, and this time the house is shutting things down because the house don't feel like it's on the up and up.
It's definitely an interesting story, and here's another part of it. FanDuel has removed all Alabama games from its betting menu.
Yeah.
In all jurisdictions.
Yeah, how close is it How close is it directly tied to the program?
Exactly.
Like how closely directly is it tied to the program? If it's 1 degree of separation, you got a problem. We're talking about 3 degrees of separation, then it's okay. That's just
Right.
That's just information
Dude
leaking
just
out.
understood.
Yes, but you're talking about somebody that's inside that program. I'm talking about even equipment staff guy, training staff guy. The coaches, that's a players. That's a
Yeah,
problem.
that's a big
Can't have
problem.
1 degree of separation. We need 2, at least 2. I think you need 3.
Oh, you
I think
need
you
a
need
lot of 'em.
somebody that knows somebody else.
Yeah.
That's doing this.
Agreed.
Because if it's tied directly to the program, that's going to be a problem.
It's going to be a big time problem.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be an interesting story to watch, especially because, as the texter said, Alabama's not really that good, but it's something that you look at and you're like, okay, how bad is it? And is somebody else looking at another way to get some money? Because, as you said, how far is the degrees of separation?
Yeah, that's what we need to know.
Hey,
Yeah.
and let's be fair. I mean, even if it's not Alabama's not good or not good, we're about to be conference opponents with them.
Exactly.
And our team is good.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer us not to, be playing
Be a
against some
part of
cheaters
that.
over there.
Right.
Yeah,
Be a
that's
part of it.
true too. Oh man, yeah, this is not the last you're gonna hear this story.
No, not at all.
It's got a lot of layers to it. All right, good stuff there, Harsh Knock Life. We come back. Not so good stuff for the Mahomes family, and not so good stuff for Antonio Brown. Another bad Antonio
Come
Brown
on,
update.
Antonio.
All right, here we come back right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104 down the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. I don't have to tell you that Austin is a beautiful city. We all know that. That's why we love this city. Thanks in no small part to our good friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Austin is a beautiful city and continues to be aesthetically magnificent and pristine. And that is thanks to no small part to our good friends over at Ironworkers Local 482. You see the labors of their love all over this great city in iconic landmarks like DKR Stadium and the Pennybacker Bridge. And as the city continues to grow and thrive, so does Ironworkers Local Union 482. They don't go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting new career, you can become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and accept the challenge of becoming the best version of yourself while helping shape Austin's economic development. Right now, our good friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482 are hiring 3,000 people. That's right, 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. So you can become a member of this prestigious organization, and you can take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of this great city. So maximize your potential today and be your best self by applying at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, folks. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Time to get into Off the Record. This Antonio Brown story is surprising because I just did not know Antonio Brown was a part owner of an Arena Football League team.
Bro,
Did you know that?
They kicked him off the field one time.
What? How long has he been an owner, part owner or whatever of this team?
It's probably a good thing we didn't know, but I saw
Wow.
a video of him getting kicked off the field, and he was trying to explain to the people that he was the owner.
Okay.
He was trying to Jerry Jones it.
Yeah, hey, man, you know who I am? He drops that a lot. I guarantee Antonio
for
Brown
sure.
drops,
He
you
is
know who I
that
am.
guy.
He's
He is
definitely
that
that
guy.
dude.
Yeah.
Well, he's a part owner of the National Arena League's Albany Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And he is being accused of some very irresponsible behavior as an owner, kind of being the Dan Snyder of the Arena Football League, kind of.
He's probably the Oakland A's owner.
Yeah, whatever, right? Because he is being accused of running the organization into the ground, making violent threats toward the ex-head coach and locker room players, and locking players out of their hotel rooms,
Yeah.
actually. TMZ sports spokesman spoke with two former members of the National Arena League's Albany Empire, head coach Damon Ware and quarterback Sam Castronova. And they both detailed their hellish experience before leaving the team. Ware said Brown's ownership was doomed from the beginning, explaining it was a hostile takeover when the Super Bowl champ came on board in March, forcing other owners out by throwing money their way. Ware said the main issue was getting everyone paid. In his conversation with AB about the matter would get so bad that the receiver would resort to texting him violent threats. According to Ware, Brown, who now owns 95% of the team, was a nightmare to work with as his ego got in the way of improving the squad and helping players move on to the next level. It became all about him, not the football team. We built a wonderful organization over 3 years. He came and killed it, said Ware. And basically, he's being accused of not paying players. He said, we're told team members usually expect their game checks the week after each contest, but once the money hadn't hit their bank accounts for the past 2 contests in April, players contemplated sitting out.
Yeah.
Eventually, the athletes agreed to suit up when they were shown what appeared to be a payment confirmation. But following Sunday's game, Castronova said players were still without their check. And several captains decided to confront team officials on their bus ride back to North Carolina. Once they got to the team hotel, Ware said that the captains and several other players discovered their room keys no longer worked. And the hotel staffers told them it was Brown's doing. In fact, they had to fight like hell just to get their belongings out of the room, dealing with housekeeping in order to make it happen. Even though the team has followed up with one missed payment so far, Ware, Castronova, and several other key players say they are fed up with the team and they are already looking forward to restoring their careers other places.
Shocking.
There you go.
It's shocking that Antonio Brown is that type of human being.
Well,
I just sent y'all the video of him being kicked off the field by security and telling them basically, I own this team. You know? Dude, I mean, first off, what did you think was going to happen if that was your boss?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's Antonio Brown. I still think something is going on with Antonio Brown that
agree.
we just don't know about. I'm hoping
agree.
it's not the brain damage issue or theory that's been thrown out there. I'm hoping that is not the case, but it is a plausible theory.
Yes.
It is a very plausible one because, hey, man, I'll end up having CTE, and I didn't play as long as he did or get hit as hard as he did. Most football players who played as long as I did will have some form of CTE, and yes, it essentially is just brain damage.
But
I'm
you
hoping
act
that
like
is not
you
the
got
case.
some sense, though.
Yeah, but I may not. I don't think I have that. I got some CTE.
Right.
It kicks in every now and then, but I don't think I have a extreme version of it, or at least, God willing, it hadn't kicked in that extreme yet. But I think for him, some people are theorizing that that's why his behavior changed so drastically.
Yeah.
And
Everybody continues to blame Vontaze Burfict.
They do. They
Yep,
yeah. And I hope
that's the name.
I hope that's not the case. Because if that is the case, then we're all witness to this the decay and deterioration of his mental faculties. It feels like. I hope that is not the case, though.
And
I'm hoping he's just acting a fool.
And
that's what I'm hoping. He's just acting a fool.
He leaked a sex videotape
That's what I'm saying.
too.
Like all of this stuff.
Like
Remember,
I'm talking about just recently.
I know. It's hard to
yeah.
keep up.
Yeah, it is hard to
Farting on the
keep-
doctor's face.
Exactly.
And all this, I'm like, man.
claiming that he got signed to the Ravens.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
They
he's
did that
part
right
of
before the
that.
draft.
Yeah.
Do you remember in the pool where he exposes the woman? Like,
Yeah.
pulls her top down?
Yes.
We forget about this stuff because it's so frequent.
He was in the pool with his junk out, completely out.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, I hope he's just
Yeah.
wilding out. 'Cause
He's definitely wilding out.
That's the question too. Is you just be like, how crazy was he before? And teams were covering it up before he like got full loose. Where teams are just like, hey, let's just keep a kind of lid on it a little bit, and we'll keep you.
I swear I didn't hear any. But like I said, I know a lot of people that know Antonio Brown. But man, we didn't hear any stories
Not
about
like this.
like about his character.
Now
issues
we
or
You know
did.
why?
We did hear the story that I think when he was still playing of where he had 2 girls back to the house, and then he went to the gym and they robbed him and he came home.
That was early. I remember that.
That was one of the
I remember
stories.
that.
Well,
But you gotta
I know,
remember,
that's
too.
not that wild though.
No, it is
That's
wild to
just
leave
being
2 women in your
naive.
bed. It's, yeah.
Ding,
Having
ding,
2
ding,
women
ding.
at the same time. Hey,
No, the naive
it-
part is leaving them in your
for
house.
him,
Yeah.
that's naive. But now
Yeah,
he's,
because if I leave, y'all leaving.
now he's throwing penis candy at women. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's a real story.
Yo,
You
I
he
know.
threw
You're
like
not
the
making
penis
this
candy
up.
at the
I know.
police. I was like, it is just the most bizarre stories.
Yep.
I just, like I said, you maybe you're right, Patrick. Maybe the Steelers were really good at covering it up. And we
No,
just-
No,
They
no,
were.
I don't think it's.
They
I mean,
were
I think it's all
100%.
part of
Yeah.
a ongoing. You go, well, was the fuse already there? Like there was already this time bomb in him,
and the Steelers timed it out well. Like, nah, you got
and
to
they
go.
got, and then it just kind of went, and they just went, no, this fuse is already lit as soon as you gave him fame. That
Oh,
he
yeah,
was like, oh
Ryan
no, I
Clark
need
said
that,
it.
I need that, I need that, I need that,
Ryan
and so I'm
Clark
going to
said
go
it.
for it for any way I can.
And he raps now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a rapper.
He's
That's
a feature.
That's the sanest thing that he does. That's right. He's a rapper. It really is.
Well, the fact
Like,
that he
he's
believes
actually-
he's good at it, though.
He does. Think
Yeah,
he's
that's
good
what I'm
at
like. He thinks he's good at
it.
it.
He performs at festivals though.
That's because Kanye is the headline. Kanye is bringing them with him.
Oh,
They're
well,
together.
Oh, that ain't good.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That is not a good influence for Antonio Brown right now.
Ding,
Don't be
ding,
hanging out
ding.
with Kanye, man.
Too late. They hanging
on,
out
man.
together.
Alex Jones decided Kanye was too wild for him.
Dude,
So
thank
we
you.
know Alex Jones is
Thank
like, Kanye,
you.
calm down.
Well, you
know-
remember when it happened when he went Facebook Live in the locker room, and that's when they were
I
like, "You
remember
got
that.
to go."
That's when Mike Tomlin had
Mike
enough
Tomlin
of him.
said, "I've been covering this up for too long. Now you just exposed that I've been covering this up for so long.
apparently
You got
so.
to go."
Yeah.
Then he runs around talk about, "I need my helmet, Grandma. They released me. I got what I wanted." We seen it all on
We
camera.
forgot all about the helmet thing.
Exactly.
Remember his feet? He went into the
Cryo chamber, not covered up.
without footwear.
Because that's the first time he's ever done that. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that have happened now that you're like, okay.
Yeah, someone says AB has the worst music of all time. People like it. I've never listened to it before. And he has the dance that everybody does. The little dance they do.
That's
With
why.
2 fingers.
That's
his
why
dance.
Dylan Brooks got
He
cut
came up-
because he was
yes.
coming out
That
doing
was
the
that
dance.
day. Dylan Brooks.
Exactly. That's why he got cut. They knew he was unstable.
Oh, speaking of, we got Antonio. We got a Dylan Brooks story coming up next week. That's pretty good. All right, we come back. We'll talk NBA. Lakers beating the Warriors. Knicks beating the Heat. We'll get into that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my favorite tequila, my go-to tequila. It's Hot Cat Tequila. You already know it stands for cinnamon, agave, and tequila, and the recipe just as simple, just as brilliant, and even more delicious. It's just cinnamon, agave, and tequila. That's why it's so light. That's why it's so smooth. It's a tequila lover's dream. And if you're not a fan of tequila, well, Hot Cat Tequila will turn you into a fan of tequila. Truth is, you don't even have to be a fan of tequila to love Hot Cat Tequila. It's just that good. It'll turn any event into a party. Every party feels like a celebration. So celebrate and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. And once you try Hot Cat, you'll never, ever go back to that old cinnamon whiskey or that cheap tequila you were ordering rounds of when you were just trying to get the party started. No, turn up your party with Hot Cat Tequila. It's the perfect way to pregame for all the big games, concerts, festivals, or any night on town with family and friends. Best served cold for a quick round of shots or to sip on the rocks. So visit Cat Tequila. That's cattequila.com to find a store near you that sells Hot Cat Tequila or to find a bar near you that serves Hot Cat Tequila. Toast and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. That's when Patrick takes songs from a soundtrack that inspired him, plays those songs for us, and based on the selections, Harge and I are supposed to gather clues and hints that lead us to the featured film of midweek movie music. And my man Harge got it. Any 4 o'clock hour, about the third hint or clue, if you will, and ended up figuring out that Guardians of the Galaxy, which is coming out this weekend, I believe. I remember
Yes.
Chad Hastings already got his tickets to go see Guardians of the Galaxy with him and the fam. Me and wifey actually might do that too. And Hard, you said you and your kids are going to see it because DJ's a big Marvel guy.
Yeah, he's a Marvel guy.
So y'all gonna end up seeing it too. But this is actually the anniversary 6 years, you said, of
6 years.
Guardians
So
of the Galaxy.
2017 Volume
Okay.
2 came out this same week.
There you go.
Yep.
Good soundtrack though.
Yeah, dude, they understood, and it plays into the movie, and it works.
It's a huge part of. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! But yeah, like basically one of his connections, sentimental connections to his mom, is the tapes that
Yes.
I guess he made during that time or that she made, and he plays that music, basically, literally a soundtrack of his life with his Walkman.
Groot.
And Groot there. Yeah, no, I don't think Guardians has made a bad movie yet, so we'll
No.
see about part 3, which
And
is
I
coming
love their
out.
cast.
Great cast.
Yeah, their cast is really good.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
with you on that. I'm a big fan of the cast. They did a really good job. Actually knocked it out of the park with the cast. Isn't Bradley Cooper like the raccoon?
I think so.
Isn't he the raccoon? If I'm
yeah,
not
and
mistaken?
Groot's Vin Diesel.
Is
Yeah.
he really?
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't know that
And
actually.
Bautista's in there.
Yeah,
too.
Bautista's good too.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Vin Diesel was Groot. Vin Diesel was one of the most typecast actors in the history of Hollywood.
That's why he
I
sounds
mean, he only
like
plays
that.
like one or two characters,
Yeah.
and it's always a Vin Diesel like character.
Yeah.
So for him to do Groot, all he does is
Do
say
you know
Groot.
Vin Diesel's a singer?
Don't.
Do you know that?
Is he
No
with
way.
Antonio Brown?
That's
Is he the
not
background?
true.
Oh, it's true.
No, it's not.
It is true.
We
Hold
need
on,
you to play a
singer,
song.
Singer,
We
what
need you to play a
genre of
song.
music are we talking about here? About
I
Vin
think
Diesel?
it's kind of like pop crooning.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know because it's not. Let's put it this way.
Is it grunge pop or something?
No,
What
no,
is
no.
this?
I would say like it's kind of like because he's got a deep voice.
He does it.
I also haven't listened to it in a very long time, but it was
Wow.
something that somebody sent to me a while ago because
Oh.
we make fun of people, and so someone
Yes,
sent
we
that to
do.
me.
Oh, I'm got a rabbit hole. This is a thing. Vin Diesel
Yes.
has. Why is this not more common knowledge about Vin Diesel?
Because I think there was a whole thing where he was like on the Kelly Clarkson show, and they were talking
He
about
admitted
it.
something crazy like
No.
that.
Feel
no,
like,
like he
I
was
do is one
promoting
of
his music.
songs. It's called
Harge
Feel,
found it.
Feel Like I Do.
Feel like I do.
Yeah.
And it's a dance music.
Oh, I know it's midweek movie music, but man, I gotta tell you,
Patrick.
one day we're going to play some of this Vin Diesel. I'll listen to it in the break. I don't even know if it's worthy of playing. I'll listen to it.
Oh
in the
no,
break to
it's
see.
definitely worthy.
I don't know.
because I want to
I don't know if
trash
there's
it.
7 tracks of it worthy.
Well, you know, I was just talking about him being typecast.
Yep.
Hey, the man, he don't want to be put in a box.
No.
So
Yeah.
good for Vin Diesel, and I'm gonna check that out in the break. That is. Wow, that's why I love Patrick, man. Talking random little nuggets like that. Vin Diesel singing.
And he's absolutely right. He was talking about it on the Kelly Clarkson show in 2020, talking about his music as well.
Yeah, you know what? Good for her. She
Yeah.
got him to open up.
Yep.
I mean, that's amazing that she got him to open up. Because I don't think I've
What
ever
it-
heard him
what
say. It's not like I keep up with Vin Diesel. To tell you the truth, I'm not like a fan. Vin Diesel.
What do you mean, Rod?
Oh, that's your Vin Diesel? Was that it?
What do you mean? It's just the way that everything goes, you know.
You have
That's
to,
just-
Hard, you have to say
not bad. Now I
family.
gotta listen to it.
Hey, you
Not
got to
bad.
say family every third word. Because then you can do the Fast and the
Do
Furious.
you want me to do it like Brian Kelly, or do you want me to do it like Vin Diesel?
That's a Fast and the Furious line.
Family.
You want family, or does it
That
have to
is
be
great.
family.
Speaking of, it's just random. We'll get into the NBA here in a second. Speaking of Hollywood stars that said strange things on talk shows, did you hear what Nicolas Cage said when he was on? I think he was on Jimmy Fallon. Maybe he was on.
He's too much, man.
I don't know who he was on. He was on with somebody, and he saw it. Oh, maybe it was. It might have been Colbert.
I saw a
It was
clip of him
Colbert.
on Colbert.
It was Colbert. Yes, thank you. It was Colbert, and he said that he has memories of being in the womb,
Oh my God.
shadows, faces. I'm not making that up.
Me too.
No, he did. He said, "Listen, I know this sounds really far out, and I don't know if it's real or not, but sometimes I think I can go all the way back to in utero, and feeling like I could see faces in the dark or something."
I see. This is so.
What's wrong with people, man?
I used to do stuff with this
I
group
love
called
Nick
Master
Cage.
Pancake Theater. That's kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000, but here in town. They do it at the Alamo Draft House. I used to run sound for them.
Yeah.
And they did a Nick Cage thing. And the way they described Nick Cage is where like the best way I've ever described is Nick Cage. His acting career, his whole career is like abstract art. where it's like,
like
it's
it.
just kind of like some people get different things out of it, and you put it. But if you look at it that way, where you're like, he's just kind of throwing stuff at a wall, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
You're right.
That it makes sense that an abstract artist will be the guy to go, I could see in utero, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense that guy would say that.
I'm with you about just throwing stuff at the wall. That's why his roles are so random. Like his roles, he's probably as random as it gets in terms of the roles that he plays. And sometimes it's magnificent, and sometimes it's like that was a swing.
It's
and a
like,
miss.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he doesn't care though.
Yeah.
He's trying to hit the home run every time.
He's trying to get a check.
That too.
He's trying to get paid.
He's admitted to that too.
Yeah, no, he's like, because he actually had some money issues, I believe,
Yeah,
too.
take
because-
care of his mom
Nick
too.
Cage is Kyrie. That's what.
Well, I don't know if he's known for being like, I don't know, like a cancer to the
Yep.
to a film or anything. He's just a diva. Like
I mean, he is that good though.
yeah, but I'm just saying, like Kyrie has a reputation for being
Yeah.
like a cancer to a team, which he wasn't for the Mavs.
I met Nicolas Cage in Killeen, Texas, at a Mexican food restaurant when he was filming. I want to say it was called Black Hawk. It was a movie that he filmed, and it was filmed
Wow.
on Fort Hood. And I didn't realize it was him. We was just
I
having
did not
dinner.
realize it was Nick Cage.
Yeah.
You didn't realize it was Nick Cage?
No, I mean, that was in his early stages. And I was, in my world at that time anyway. So I just saw him.
Wow.
I was like, is that Nick Cage?
Yeah, that's Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's
Yeah.
crazy. See, I told you, Harge knows every damn body.
Yeah, he wouldn't know me.
Yeah, but you knew him.
Yeah, I did.
That's pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, it's random Nicolas Cage conversation. Sorry we got into it. Let's talk
Sorry, I like
about
it.
some other celebrities and stars. A lot of star power in the matchup last night. The Lakers with the win over the Golden State Warriors, 117-112. And gentlemen, Anthony Davis, speaking of stars, he was a star. He shined brighter than all the other stars last night out there on the West Coast. 30 points, 23 rebounds. He had 5 assists. He had 4 blocks. How about this stat? I know Patrick will like this. Only 2 players have ever recorded at least 30 points, at least 20 rebounds, at least 5 assists, and at least 4 blocks in a playoff game. Tim Duncan is the other, and Anthony Davis last night is that guy. So, yeah, that's pretty elite company to be in when it comes down to him. And they just had no answer for Anthony Davis. And if he plays at that level, not saying he's going to get 30 and 23 every night. He's not going to be Wilt every damn night. But if he plays at that level every night, Lakers going to be hard to beat in this series.
Absolutely.
They really
and
are.
that was the biggest thing that I was talking about as everything was happening. You start looking at it and you say, all right, is he going to be able to get after it? Is Anthony Davis going to be that guy that can play the Batman? I mean, to play the Robin to Batman, which is LeBron. Is he going to be consistent? Is he going to play hurt? Is he going to be that guy that is, if things get a little rough, is he going to be able to step up? And at times, during the time when LeBron would be out of games, he would step up. He would be the guy that was the catalyst. Firebirds is the name of it. Thank you, CB.
Oh, shout out.
That's right, with Tommy Lee Jones. That's
Good
right.
job,
Thank you,
CB.
CB. But yes, you start sitting there and you're looking at it and you say, all right, can he be that guy? Now, can he sustain it? Is he going to be able to repeat that performance? Not necessarily getting 30 and 20, not having to be that guy, but being a guy that can be enough of a person to be able to let LeBron be LeBron and help his team win. That's the Anthony Davis that I want to see. He was the one that was supposed to be the next superstar in the league. We were talking about it yesterday. Who was going to be the next MVP that's American? He was supposed to be him.
It was.
He was.
I remember that.
He was
The
the guy.
brow.
The brow.
Yeah.
Unibrow.
Yeah,
He was
he
the
had the
brow.
marketability
That's right.
and everything.
He was
Yeah.
supposed to be the guy, but
remember
he
that.
dealt with all the injuries. He became very fragile. Then he was temperamental. He wanted out of New Orleans.
And that was also the deal, though. You have to give him, New Orleans was in the point where they sold they basically made them get rid of the team.
Yeah.
The NBA owned the team for a while, so there was some issues that New Orleans had in that point where it makes sense that he wasn't necessarily the happiest there.
Yeah.
because they weren't really trying to win; they were just trying to make money.
I actually saw him play
Yeah.
in New Orleans during the Sugar Bowl. He was still there. They were playing Dallas, and he played his butt off during that time. And then he was gone right after that.
Yeah.
It was when we were there for the Sugar Bowl.
And turns out, remember, Mike Florio says that the ownership, because I believe it was the same ownership of the Saints
Yep.
and also of the New Orleans
Vincent.
Pelicans at the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
And remember, he says they were going to trade Sean Payton to the Cowboys, but the ownership were already getting so much backlash and so much negative blowback from the Anthony Davis trade, and they basically said, we can't do it. We can't trade both. We can't trade a Super Bowl winning coach and the face of another franchise because the fan base will turn on us and they'll never forgive us. And that ultimately, Anthony Davis is why Sean Payton never became the Cowboys head coach.
Right.
Isn't that wild?
And that is crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to it though, Anthony Davis, if he plays like that, gentlemen, I mean, it's not just him playing like that, but his presence in the paint, period. Like, obviously offensively, but defensively too. It really changed the entire complexion of this matchup last night. We talked about the most glaring statistical, really kind of outliers in this game, were the fact that Golden State shot 53 three-pointers. 53 of them. Now, they made 21. They made 21, so 39.6%. So they made a good amount of them. But 53 three-pointers, and then you compare that to the 6 times. You brought this up, Harsh. The 6 times they got to the free throw line. Only 6 times.
6.
Which is mind-blowing. It just shows you they were really lopsided in their offensive approach, with their offensive mentality in this game. Yes, the Lakers gave them the outside shot and gave them a lot of space on those three-pointers. And, I mean, they are the most prolific and the best three-point shooting team in the history of the NBA. So that is a bit of a gamble if you're the Lakers. But the Lakers wanted to dominate the paint, and they wanted to dominate on both sides of the court. They wanted to dominate defensively and offensively. And that gamble paid off for them.
Yeah.
The Warriors if the Warriors would have hit 2 or 3 or more of those three-pointers, they win the game. They didn't. They were right under 40%. And if you go look at the way the game worked out, Warriors were plus 45 from three-point range in this game because the Lakers were terrible. They were 6 of 25 from three-point range. So Golden State outscored them from the three-point line by 45 points. But the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but is the Lakers were plus 20 from the free throw line against the Warriors, and they were plus 26 in points in the paint. So they did their mentality, or at least their game plan, was more effective because they won the paint and they lost the three-point line. Usually, that's a recipe for disaster going up against the Warriors.
Yeah, and you would think, too, you start looking at it, okay, Steph and what they were able to do. Steph and Clay were 19 of 49 shooting and also 12 of 29. But you look at how efficient the Lakers were. They were very efficient with the way that they were playing. And the fact that they went to the free throw line, as you talked about, 29 times. That's the difference in the ball game.
Yeah, it is.
And you had mentioned this in the first hour, Rod. You were talking about how Steph could create, but they weren't letting him get to the lane. They were not letting Steph create his shot getting into the lane. And that was a huge part of his game in the previous series.
It was.
Now you got a rim protector, which we were begging for AD. We're like, he's got to be able to play in the paint because Looney is not going to be that guy. All he cares about is getting rebounds. If you can push him out and not let him have those big rebounding numbers, they don't get second chance shots. They don't do that. So now you're looking at, and you're missing those threes. It's a totally different ball game. And again, they only lost by 5. They only lost by 5. And that's the part that scares me if I'm a Lakers fan. If I'm a Lakers fan, I'm looking at this game and I'm saying, we had AD play at a very high level. We had good bench scoring when Schroeder came off the bench to be able to be effective. We had great defense by Vanderbilt on that. Are you going to be able to repeat that? I'm looking at the Lakers and I'm saying if they can play slow and steady and just continue to keep this tempo, but if the Warriors get hot, that will be the biggest challenge because we just saw the Lakers can't shoot threes like that to come from behind.
No, and I mean, let's look at the reality is and especially in a really good series like this, it's not like you're going to have one game plan and play it for 4 to 5 games.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you
You're
just
gonna have
can't.
to adjust,
We
yeah.
understand. Steve Kerr is in there making adjustments right now. And 2 of the things he's saying is we have to take way better three-pointers. If they're giving us threes, we need to be on the line, set, feet squared, at the basket. Go get that three-pointer. If it's an extra pass, make the extra pass, and then pass it back. They're not guarding us heavy. So if we can get those shots, let's go get the better ones. We'll hit them where shots will win. The other one is you cannot play a pansy style of driving the basket.
Yeah, you got to be aggressive.
Trying to throw up these layups 3 or 4 feet away from the basket where you're not creating contact. And go in there. Get Anthony Davis in foul trouble. Hurt him. Like, it's not hurting him physically. It's just go in there and create contact because in the fourth quarter, you're going to put the wear and tear on his body as a big man. You didn't do any of that. The only wear and tear he had was bumping with Looney on rebounds.
Yeah.
I mean, because y'all weren't coming after him.
Yep.
And Steph's going to have a problem doing that, especially if they're going to continue to try and double team him and play him very tight at the top. He's not going to be able to do that as much. So Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, those guys have to drive to the basket hard, and you're just going to try and make a late movement with the ball so that they're going to bump bodies and then throw it up at the basket, and you're normally going to get that call in today's NBA. So if you can do that a little bit more, I get Anthony Davis is blocking shots, but you were letting LeBron and Anthony Davis block shots because you're letting go of the ball so far away from the basket, trying to get a layup, instead of going in and creating contact and knowing exactly where your defender is and knowing exactly where your release point is.
Yeah, to your point about the free throw attempts, the Warriors' 6 free throw attempts the fewest free throw attempts when a team is taking at least 53 pointers in a game all time.
Right.
In NBA history, both regular season or playoffs. So, yeah, you just don't see a lopsided stat line like that with a team, like Patrick said, that, you know, is so great from outside, but not trying to penetrate, get into the lane, and not trying to create contact at all. They'll remedy that. I guarantee you they looked at that in film study and went, guys, we got to be more aggressive getting to the paint. Steph, who's an amazing shot maker. We talk about being the best three-point shooter of all time, which he is, but he's also an amazing shot maker once he gets in the lane because he's got great handles. And in that Sacramento series, you talked about this, Harge, he was great at getting to the lane. Game 7, he had 12 shots in the paint and was 8 of 12 on those shots. And there were some tough ones, too. I mean, there were some ones that he looked like, you know, Jordan-esque, if you will, in the paint, making some of those Cirque du Soleil shots. In this game versus the Lakers, game 1, he only had 6 shots in the paint, and he was 2 of 6.
Yeah.
So different
Totally
game
different.
altogether.
Yep.
So he's got to be better there, and I think, you know, the Lakers didn't have 10 blocks. 10 blocks.
Yeah. Shout out.
4
shout
for
out
Anthony
to them.
Davis, 3 for LeBron James.
Yeah.
Just from
That's
those
7
guys.
between those two guys.
Yeah.
No,
It's
and I
like
mean, and this is the
Twin
and
Towers out
when
there.
you say the adjustments, it's going to be what is Darvin Ham, because Darvin Ham already has to be working on, hey, what do we do next? Man, we were lucky to get through that game with basically one game plan because you knew we had another one ready to go if they start hitting threes. You can't go in and
Can't
go,
just keep
hey,
giving
let's
them
play
space.
Matador
Yeah.
and see if they hit threes, and if they start hitting them, you just play it out and lose by 40.
I totally
You
agree.
can't do that. So what is that next role, and how well does that work? And you know, what do you do when Anthony Davis starts missing those bunnies and get in? What is your next plan for Darvin Ham as the Warriors respond? That's going to be a lot of fun to watch going into game 2.
His response is going to be, hey, LeBron, tell me what I need to do because I know that you got the breakdown on this already. Because
Damn right.
here's the other part of it. You know, we were talking about Looney and trying to keep him out of there. Looney had 23 rebounds as well. And he had a double-double himself. He had 10 points. That was the most aggressive I had seen him play in a very long time. Now, you take that away from him because, remember, that's not his game. His game is to get all the rebounds. But after that, who is going to be able to lead them on the bench? Poole comes out. Poole is basically another starter. That's what he does. I mean, he tries to shoot every time. As soon as he comes in the game, he's putting up a shot. He don't care about none of that stuff. He had 21 points. He was +7. But who is going to be the other guys to help? DiVincenzo, he's normally pretty good too. He didn't do anything last night. And
Yeah.
he's one of the
You're
other
right.
guys. He's one of their better shooters. When Steph takes a break, he's normally the guy that can come in and shoot. He didn't do anything last
It's
night.
one thing you got to give the Lakers credit for. They had a really good game plan for Steph, and you talked about Jared Vanderbilt earlier. Man, his 26 minutes, invaluable.
Very much
He
so.
had 2 blocks, 2 steals. He had 2 assists. He was 2 of 7 in those 26 minutes, but just was able to help harass Steph a little bit. And also give it up for Dennis Schroeder. He harassed Steph a little bit too. And he's quick enough. At least he can stay in front of Steph. Most people can't even stay in front of Steph.
No.
He's quick enough to at least stay in front of him for a little while. Actually picked his pocket at midcourt.
Clean.
You never see that with Steph. Steph had 5 turnovers in this game. Now Steph is gonna get his. You can only hope to contain Steph. You're not gonna stop him. But him with 5 turnovers and having 13 points on his first 14 shots before he got hot. That's all you can really hope for going up against a GOAT like that.
And I mean, and then we get to look at see what LeBron's going to do, because I know LeBron had a lot of impact in this game. This was not a great game for LeBron. It was Anthony Davis's game. He shot really poorly. 22 points on 24 shots is not a good line.
Yep.
That's a Trae Young line.
That is
It's not,
a
it's
Trae
not a
Young
LeBron
line.
line, right?
That's a
Yeah.
Trae Young line. I like
So
that.
he needs to improve his game because if he plays better, this game isn't close.
Well, I was just about to say, you know what he's going to tell you. I'll be better next game.
Which he
Exactly.
will.
No,
He
I
usually
will
is.
be. And
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's that dude.
exactly. So you know he's going to be better,
Yeah.
and that's it. And then the Warriors have to figure out, well, if AD's playing like that, and then LeBron shows up, because his offensive game wasn't there. We let him. He shot himself out of it.
Yep.
He did exactly what they were doing to us.
Yeah.
Shot out of it.
He did. LeBron's just not shooting well from 3-point range right now. It's just not happening. He's best when he can get to the lane. Right now, he just doesn't have his outside shot. But really, if they can dominate the paint like they did in that game, they really don't need
No.
LeBron James to be hot from outside.
No, he just needs to be consistent when he comes in, and
be
he'll
e-
pick his game.
And be more efficient. Say
Yeah.
Patrick
Hey.
said, don't be a volume shooter. Don't be Trae Young.
No, you don't want to do that. But this whole he cannot be a good shooter thing is not true down the road.
Yeah.
And I know they're worried about being the Warriors right now, but you understand you're playing the 6 seed.
Yeah.
Like this is not we'll get through this and then we're going to easy road to the rest of the playoffs.
No.
So you have to remember you need to figure out problems that you are going to face if you can beat the Warriors. You have to think in the sense of what are we going to do next? LeBron has to figure out a way to get that shot to start falling. So people have to come out on him a little bit more. So people have to respect him more because that'll open up Anthony Davis even more. That'll open up the paint. He has to get that shot to start falling at some point, but he knows that as well as anybody else.
This is the Warriors' first loss in the history of the organization when they've hit 15 or more threes than their opponent.
15 or more threes than their opponent.
And teams, by the way, that made at least 15 more threes than their opponent have won 96% of regular season and playoff games. They just not used to, when they hit from 3-point range like that.
They
I
hit.
guarantee, this is having like a kind of I don't say devastating effect, but it's definitely an uncomfortable, strange position for Golden State to be in because they did hit a lot of 3-pointers.
Yeah.
They just lost.
Yep.
But I agree with Patrick, man. If they just move one dribble up, one extra
Just
dribble, one
better
extra
shots.
pass, and I do think they hit 2 or more 3-pointers.
Why are you heat checking over and over
yeah.
in rhythm shots?
They'd come
You're
out-
a great shooter.
They get that
Shoot
dribble
well.
hand off, and they would just shoot initially, and
Just
they'd be
let
like
it fly.
5 feet from the 3-point line. I'm like, but the defender is behind the 3-point line.
Let it
Just
fly.
move up a step or two.
Yeah, it's like shooting free throws with your eyes closed. I get you're a 95% free throw shooter. Go ahead and keep it at that 95%, then knocking it down to 65% because maybe you're good at shooting free, but at 65, I prefer 95.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder. They were working harder last night than they needed to work. I totally agree. Great point. All right, we come back. I'll get into the Bijan Rojo conversation. Apparently, there are some rave reviews about Bijan and Rojo already. These guys haven't even practiced, haven't even put on the pads. We'll tell you what their numbers are in the NFL now, but also go over why Bijan is ranked as high as he is among the fantasy football players, and Rojo, the scouts for the Bears, saying that he can end up being a culture, really a culture guy for them, a locker room guy for them. We'll talk about that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, Wonderful Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. We all know that time is money. And my friends at Apple Leasing, well, they're going to save you both. They're going to save you time. They're going to save you money and also find you tremendous value. Apple Leasing has the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. And my friends over at Apple Leasing, they can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car you want. And you want friends like this because they can walk you through every step of the car buying process and also help make sure that you are getting the best bang for your buck. That's why they've been been in business here in Austin for almost 40 years. And all you got to do to get the best bang for your buck is reach out to my friends at Apple Leasing, 512-346-9977. That's the best way to do it. Or just click on Apple Leasing's website. And somebody who knows this firsthand is my man, Mike Harge.
That's right. I've done it so much that I've got 3 cars from them. And it's a simple process. It's an easy payment. You get low interest rates. There's no termination fees. There's so many positive things that you can go through with Apple Lease. And I know a lot of people are always worried about that lease and trying to figure out, is this right for me? Is it going to be good? Is this financially the right way to go? The best way to find out is reaching out to my man Jeff Holly or my man Chris Andre. They will walk you through the process. They've helped me and my family out. And they always ask me, will you recommend a friend? I'm like, I'm going to recommend 10. Make sure that you get over there and check it out for yourself. All you got to do, like my man Rob Baber says, is go to appleleasing.com. It's a very easy process. Type in the car and make and model that you want, and they will find it for you. I know a lot of people like exotic cars. They can do that for you too. Do yourself a favor. Go to appleleasing.com today. That is appleleasing.com.
All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Real quick before we get into talking about Bijan and Rojo, two stories about two Longhorns drafted into the NFL that I think will give a lot of Longhorn fans some it's kind of good mojo about two of their favorite Longhorns in the draft. First of all, the numbers. So we talked about this, I think, a little bit yesterday, but Bijan's going to be number 7. It's done deal. It's official. That's going to be his number. We all know that was a famous number 7 for the Falcons once. And hopefully Bijan will make that number 7 even, instead of infamous, make it famous.
There you go.
I think it was more infamous than it was famous with Michael Vick. And
Rumor has it.
Rumor has it. And Rojo reportedly is going to wear number 30 with the Bears.
Okay.
The Bears.
The Bears.
Yeah, he's going to wear number 30 with them.
Okay.
So,
I can rock with that.
yeah, and he obviously wore number 2 in college, but DJ Moore, I believe, wears number 2 there. He's going to be a power back. 30 fits him. Anyway, but I want to get to these reports from the a scout, a Bears area scout, John, I believe his name is Saiti. If I mispronounced it, I apologize. He actually has some great quotes about Rojo because I think he was the lead scout, scouting Rojo, the Southwest area scout for the Bears. And this is what he had to say. Just quotes about his evaluation of Rojo. Listen to this stuff. This is great. This is how you know Rojo's going more to just make this team. Man, Rojo might be a Bear for a while. He said, quote, "This is a young man who has some pretty special qualities just in terms of his leadership ability. He's someone we really feel can become a pillar in this organization for a really long time. I feel really strongly about this guy. I'm excited for you guys to meet him. There's a level of it factor to this kid that the second he walks into a room, all you guys are going to feel. I'm a little bit emotional about this kid. We spent a lot of time with him. Coach Walker went down and visited with him at Texas. We worked him out at Pro Day. This kid has been through a lot of adversity, and there's a reason that we selected him today. I have a feeling this guy is going to be with us for a really long time." Said it again, twice. He went on to say, "This human being is wired differently. The more time you spend around him, the more you realize you're the one that probably has the stuff that you need to work on. He's that kind of guy." He also went on to say, I don't know if I've ever written a guy with higher character than him. Scouts say written, they mean evaluation. That's just like them. They write up an evaluation. He said, "I don't know if I've ever written a guy with a higher character than him."
Love it.
He said, "He just emulates everything we want a Chicago Bear to be." I just can't say it enough. The it factor about this kid is special. Mentioned it factor twice.
I mean, that's a lot of praise, ain't it?
Mentioned being with them a really long time twice, and then said, "I've never evaluated a player with higher character than Roschon Johnson." You think this guy's gonna be fighting for Rojo to be on that team? Damn. I mean, I wish a scout wrote about me like that.
I was going to say, don't we all? Don't we all?
I mean, he's writing like he wants this guy. Rojo could date this man's daughter.
That's what it sounds
He
like.
might be able to date his wife, depending on what they're into. You know what I mean? There's a little wife swapping going on. Man, Rojo might be the guy. If you listen to this evaluation.
No, because he's going to tell you got to get your life together.
Rojo would decline the invitation to swap with your wife like, "Nah, man.
You need to get your
y'all
life
need some
together."
counseling, man. I will counsel y'all. I ain't married, but I bet I can help y'all out. But no, Rojo, they always say in the NFL you draft the person and the player.
Yep.
And if you're a good organization, you do. If you're a bad organization, you just draft the player.
Real smart, man.
But you draft the person and the player. It's pretty obvious this scout is all about the person and the player that is Rojo. The GM Ryan Poles said about Rojo, quote, this was a guy I was shocked that he was still on the board. He is a really good football player that I know is going to be successful in this league in many different ways. And on top of that, probably you could understand from talking to him over the Zoom call, he's an unbelievable human being as well who is going to enhance our culture, enhance our locker room, and continue to meet the standards that we've put in place.
Yep.
Fair to say they love them some Rojo.
And we do too.
You hear what Bijan said about Rojo? He was asked about Rojo. Listen to this quote. And Bijan's a religious man, right? Very religious. I believe when they asked Bijan what the first thing he was going to do when he got his signing bonus, he said, "I was going to tithe." And then he said, I was going to buy a dog. I think he said he wanted to buy like a wiener dog. It's like a wiener mix of some kind. So he was going to pay his tithes, all right?
Yep.
And then he's going to buy him a dog with his money. When they asked him about Roschon Johnson, here's what Bijan said about Rojo. Roschon is a god. He brings out so much in a player and the team just with how he goes about being a leader. Not just his teammates, but everybody in the community. His toughness and heart make him stand out over everybody.
Well, I don't see any lies told either.
Man.
I mean, all the reports that we've heard throughout the time that he's been here, that's exactly what it's been. What did Coach Sark say? Man, I gotta thank those guys for what they brought to me and this team.
Yep.
I mean, he don't know where he would have been without those guys.
No, Rojo, you can argue. Remember, Rojo was the one that called the team meeting after losing the Tech.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
And he, because he was a quarterback at a natural leadership position, he understood that this team needed a leader. God bless Quinn Ewers, and God bless Casey Thompson, all those guys. When Quinn Ewers was the quarterback and Hudson Card, I thought he did really well last year.
Yep.
There was an uncertainty about that natural leadership position at quarterback because of injuries and other things. And I think honestly, Rojo kind of supplemented that void where they needed leadership.
See.
Because he was a quarterback and
Because
he
he
knew.
was that quarterback.
And there's no doubt that is not lost on all the scouts and not lost on Bijan either. So a lot of praise for Rojo. Here's the praise for Bijan. Just really quickly while we got some time here. We all know that Bijan is going to be – I've given you the numbers about why Bijan is going to be so prolific with the Atlanta Falcons. But how about this, guys? Pro Football Focus post-2023 NFL Draft Fantasy Rankings. And Hard, you said you saw some other fantasy rankings that also echo this very same sentiment.
Very much so.
Guys, they got him number 1 overall. They got him ahead of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase as the top fantasy players overall in their projected fantasy draft or fantasy rankings, I should say.
Hey.
He ain't touched the damn ball yet for the Falcons. And they're like, no. With that scheme and with his skill, it's guaranteed that he's going to be that he don't get hurt. He's going to be prolific. And what I say, I think he's going to be the best running back in the league as soon as he gets there. I said it as soon as they drafted him. I'll back it up now. He's going to be the best running back in the league as soon as they start handing the ball off to him.
The way that they run their offense, the numbers that we've seen from guys that aren't at his skill level, that is going to be the biggest difference. And the fact that he could catch the ball out of the backfield, he's a 3-down back. You don't have to replace him. He can block, too, by the way. He worked on that when he got here, figured that out. So, yeah, you there's some growth there, man. There's some growth there.
I think Rojo's going to have been a starter, too. I think Texas is going to have 2 starting running backs potentially at one point. Obviously, I'm not saying this year because Deontay Foreman, by the way, is in that backfield with Rojo.
Hello.
And he ain't giving up that spot.
Yeah.
All right? So, but
They're going to work hard for it.
Yeah, remember, and even Justin Fields admitted this, the Bears essentially stole the Ravens' offense around week 4 or 5 when they were getting ready to play – I believe it was they were getting ready to play the Patriots, and they were watching film of the Patriots, and they saw Lamar Jackson's film versus the Patriots and went, dude, Justin Fields can do that. And they admit to taking a lot of those concepts. The reason that matters for Rojo is because they run a lot of multi-back sets. They want 2 tailbacks out there. And what do the Ravens love? Stockpiling running backs because they run the ball so much. And nobody in the NFL runs the ball more than the Atlanta Falcons.
Love it.
So that's good for them and good for the Bears because the Bears are second. If you look at running rate of rushes in terms of how often teams run the football, the Atlanta Falcons are 51%. That's the highest in the NFL.
There you go.
The Chicago Bears are right there. They're at 48%. They're right there.
Well, that's because their quarterback was running it.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's going to be good for both of these guys that they're going to really run heavy offenses at the NFL level.
Great fits.
All right. So there you go. Little nuggets there for Longhorn fans out there about Bijan and Rojo. Expect big things from both of those guys at the next level. All right. We come back. Here's some of the texts about Nicolas Cage. Apparently, Nicolas Cage really popular on the Specs text line. So we'll hit some of that. And also the bad news for the Mahomes family. One of the Mahomes brothers is acting up. Guess who it is? Right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn.
Mike Harge here. Now it's time to be part of the Premier Rugby Sevens action. Come out and party with the PR Sevens for the Eastern Conference kickoff on Saturday, June 17th. I think that's Father's Day weekend at Q2 Stadium. PR Sevens, as it's known and for the short, it is a rugby for the American audience, featuring predominantly North American player pool and competing in some of the best entertainment facilities across the country. The Team Texas dominates the pitch like a herd of wild Mustangs. Their shield flashes warning colors of sandstone orange and slate gray like the mighty rock formations in the vast Texas caverns. That's right, the canyons are out there, people. Representing the Lone Star State, the Team Texas will charge the pitch with fearsome horsepower before their opponents can even try. Catch professional rugby at its best. See the team, headliners, locals, and the men's and women's Team Texas battle for a spot in the championship. Don't miss our Ultimate Fan Fest experience with fun, games, drinks, music, and so much more. It's all at Q2 Stadium, Saturday, June 17th. Get your tickets today at pr7s.com. That's pr7s.com.
Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn, midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie. That's when Patrick plays jams from a soundtrack that inspired him. And based on the selections that are played, Harge and I are supposed to gather clues and hints that lead us to the featured film of midweek movie music. And today's featured film is Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, because Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3 actually is coming out this weekend. But also, this is the 6-year anniversary of Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. Love the soundtrack, too, man. It's a great soundtrack, actually. I think I got Guardians of the Galaxy 1, the soundtrack for that one. I don't know if I got Part 2.
Yeah, I know, because 1 was a really big deal because it was the first time you heard that kind of, you're like, oh, man, that's really good.
And they put all that really good music together.
Yeah.
So it's a very eclectic soundtrack. But I don't think I've actually heard the soundtrack for Part 2, but my man Patrick always doing a good job broadening our horizons. Speaking of, I was going to get into that not Patrick Mahomes story. It's about his brother. So I apologize to Patrick Mahomes. But we got to table that because there's some bigger news here, and it kind of relates to some of the conversation we were having. We had a conversation about Nicolas Cage earlier, and I don't even know how we got on the Nicolas Cage. Oh, we're talking about just stars who had said weird, crazy things on talk shows. And he had said that he remembers being in the womb. He said that on the Colbert Show. But anyway, we were talking about Nicolas Cage, and somebody on Specs Exxon brought up a really good point about Nicolas Cage, about how eccentric Nicolas Cage is. This is true. They said, who else does a movie about themselves? That's not a war hero. That's true. He does have a movie about himself. I forgot. It's about the title of it is a tricky title. The Immense Talent or something like that.
Oh, yeah. The unbearable burn of immense talent,
yes,
I believe it is.
There you go. Yeah. Have you seen that one?
No, I have not.
It's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty good.
It looked pretty interesting.
It is pretty. It's honestly, if you're a Nick Cage fan, it's a must watch if you're a Nick Cage fan. And the movie he did before that, which he says was his greatest masterpiece, Pig. Have you seen Pig?
No.
It's actually really good. He's like a chef or something like that, and then he has a pet pig. That's all I'll spoil for you. Spoiler. Really good. I don't think it's his best work. His best work, in my opinion, just as a pop culture critic, Adaptation. Have you seen Adaptation, Nicolas Cage?
But I know what movie you're talking about.
Oh, with Meryl Streep?
Yeah.
Oh, easily Nicolas Cage's best work. I'd put it up against any Nicolas Cage film, any of his top movies or top acting roles, and I guarantee it blow it out of the water.
So you're not a National Treasure guy?
I actually enjoy National Treasure. Is a fun movie to watch. It's not like he's not elevating the craft or anything.
Yeah.
But I think he elevates the craft in that Adaptation.
Okay.
He's one of those ones where you can see why he's attracted to the role, and then he knocks it out of the park. He actually plays, just a spoiler alert, plays himself in the movie as a twin. Just gonna throw it out there. That's the only thing I'll spoil for you. But it is great. It's long, but it's definitely worth it. Oh, I might go watch it this weekend. Great Nicolas Cage film. All right, this is also Hollywood related. Do you watch Yellowstone, Patrick?
No, but I know about it.
I've watched, and by the way, Yellowstone is falling off. It might have jumped the shark. Maybe that's what's going on right now. And maybe it's because of this news that
They
just
got 95 spinoffs of it, too.
That is true. They got 18. Oh man, I can't forget. They got 1922 and an 1882. I might have gotten the dates wrong, but something like they got there. So it's a lot of prequels and stuff like that going on. But the latest bombshell is Kevin Costner. He's out. Kevin Costner is exiting the show after season 5, following reports of an ongoing conflict with the co-creator Taylor Sheridan. He's out, and the reports are, at least a rumor mill suggests, that our own Matthew McConaughey, the Minister of Culture, is going to replace Mr. Costner as the marquee star in Yellowstone.
Is with the Writers Guild, or are they just going to put it all in ChatGPT now?
That is another issue altogether. I don't know what they do about that if the writers actually go. Are they on strike already?
Yes.
Okay, if they don't resolve the strike, I should say. And, yeah, honestly, this is probably why a lot of shows jump the shark or ends up losing their creativity a lot of the time, is because the writers do leave. Because writers are like coaches. You got a good show, a hit show. There are other companies, other I say broadcast companies, other shows. They'll just come steal the really good writers from your show if you got really good writing on the show. And oftentimes that's what happens by the 3rd or 4th season of a hit show. All the writers have gone on to something bigger and better, or they're dividing their time between that project and another project and these other projects, when at first that was their only baby. They devoted everything, their heart and soul to it. So just like coaches, staffs that get raided by other programs because they want to replicate what they're doing, happens in Hollywood all the time too.
Well, and especially if you're going to have spinoffs.
Great great point.
Then, well, we're going to send this guy over to do this one, and then we're going to put this guy over, and now we have no one back on the original.
Yeah.
And
we
then-
just hired some new people to do that.
And then Kevin Costner wants out.
Kevin Costner wants out. He's getting divorced, too.
Is he?
Yes. I just saw that, I
Is he
believe.
buying a house? And
Man, Kevin Costner's got so much money, man.
he's going to buy
he's
Field of
loaded.
Dreams house?
I didn't realize he got 7 kids, too. He's got 7 kids.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
seems right for a guy who's been famous for 30
Well,
years.
he's got him with like 3 different, like
yeah,
multiple
like
women.
he has not worried about money
Yes.
in my adult life.
No. He has Cindy Silva. He started dating her way back into. They had 2 daughters and a son. Then they divorced in the early or mid 90s, I should say. Had a brief relationship with Bridget Rooney. And they had a son in 96. Dated a political activist. Then dated Elle McPherson for a while. Shout out. Nice job, Kevin Costner. Then in 2004, he married his girlfriend, and like she's a designer too. And they got married in his ranch in Aspen. They had 2 sons and a daughter. So yeah, got 7 kids. And they just filed for divorce too. Or sorry, she did. I don't know if that matters.
I don't know. I'll watch Yellowstone if Matthew McConaughey is playing the same character as when he was Boomhauer's brother in King of the Hill.
Now years later, he's
Yeah,
become a
just-
cowboy.
Yeah, if he's still that, if he plays that, I'm down.
That would be cool. Honestly, Matthew McConaughey's going to kill it in this role. I would honestly, there's a good chance Matthew McConaughey could be better than Kevin Costner in this role. I know that sounds crazy, but man, Matthew McConaughey, he's got that type of ceiling as an actor. It just depends on what the writing is around him, because I've watched Yellowstone, the latest season, and it just ain't as good as it used to be. Y'all all know that. If you Yellowstone people, y'all know it just ain't as good as it used to be. Not even close. All right, we come back. We'll get into NFL news, notes, and nuggets. Micah Parsons not switching positions, going to defensive end full time, I should say that. Also, we'll talk about the Texans considering chemistry, the whip appeal between quarterback and wide receiver when acquiring their latest target for C.J. Stroud, their new franchise quarterback. We'll talk about that and Poona Ford having a new home. All of that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. That's when Patrick takes songs from a soundtrack that inspired him, plays those jams for us, and based on the selections that are played, Harge and I are supposed to gather clues and hints that lead us to the featured film of midweek movie music. And today, Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, because Part 3 is coming out this weekend, but this is actually the 6th-year anniversary of Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, which came out. And I got to tell you, I love the soundtrack. I love the Part 1 soundtrack was great, too. This one is damn good, too. He's very eclectic because he's all over the place. He's got R&B. He's got soul. He's got a little funk in there, too. He's got some rock. He got everything you need on that soundtrack,
Everything.
man. Yeah, that's why.
Well, I'll be curious to see what the soundtrack is for 3.
That's a great. I wonder if it'll. Yeah, because they've used so many iconic songs. So yeah, I'm wondering what they're gonna switch it up with in Part 3. I'm actually gonna probably go see that in the theaters. I know Chad always got his tickets, so him and his family are probably gonna go see Guardians of the Galaxy. Harge already said him and his family are gonna go see it because DJ, his son, is a big Marvel's fan. So a lot of people excited about Guardians of the Galaxy, which is why my man Patrick always in the know, hooking us up for midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie.
I'm sure I'll see it like in pieces on TNT in 3 years.
Yeah, it comes out quick, doesn't it? That's another thing
Yeah,
too.
it'll be at some point, and then it'll just keep coming on, and then I'll end up seeing the whole movie throughout like a 4-month period where you're just like,
you don't
where it
sit
just
down
keeps
and watch
playing.
anything.
No,
That's your problem too. You
I
don't
don't have
sit
the
down and
attention
watch
span
it.
for any of that.
And it's a great point though. You don't have to wait as long for those movies to be accessible to your home viewing as you used to. If you wanted to see a movie that was coming out in the movie theater, you wanted to see it at home, you had to wait damn near a year. That's a good year plus.
Yeah,
because
they wanted you to all go see it in theaters, and
Yes.
so they were like, "You're not gonna see it." But now they're like, "We're out of the people's minds." By the time we hit the streaming platform, they're like, "Oh, we've moved on. We don't care anymore."
In about 2 weeks or a month, you'll be able to, probably less. They probably be able to stream it. Sometimes they have a bit of a timeline, a time frame where they don't allow you to stream it because they want to try to promote people going to the movies. But sometimes they release it. It's streamable. The same time as releasing the movies. Like, at the same time.
Sometimes it's like you can buy it online where
Yes,
it's not a
exactly.
streaming service, but you can buy
You
it.
can buy it. Yeah, you can buy it on like
Just
Apple.
like watch it at home. We don't care. We just want your money.
Yeah, like Apple TV or something. Honestly, I just convinced myself. I'll probably do it that way then. I just convinced myself not to go to the movies. I'll just do that. Go to the movies. I got to sneak in my own candy and all that. I don't try to sneaking in candy and stuff like that.
Wearing
for
a
the movie.
jacket in the middle of summer.
Yeah, you got to bring in a jacket.
You got to bring in all the clothes.
And that's why I got to go with I like going to the movies with my wife because she got the bag and I just throw stuff in her bag. We all good. You know what I mean? But there you go. Midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie. My man Patrick hooking us up. Broaden our horizons with Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. All right, we got some NFL news, notes, and nuggets to share here. We'll get into the Cowboys, also get into the Texans. And if we have time, I want to hit the Poona Ford news as well. Poona Ford, lifetime Longhorn, has a new home. Former Seattle Seahawk, was a free agent, now has a new home with the Buffalo Bills. And I'll tell you why that is significant. It goes back to something I've been preaching about on these very airways for the last 3 or 4 months now. And even the Cowboys, with that Mozzie Smith pick, also was something that I brought up that is starting to trend in the NFL, starting to become a trend in the league. So we'll get into that too coming up here in the 6 o'clock. All right, let's start with the Dallas Cowboys news. It was Clarence Hill of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. My man Chill does a great job as always. He had breaking news earlier today, and it was about Micah Parsons, and it's about his now current role with the team. He was once considered to be a hybrid player. They would move him around at off-ball linebacker, move him to defensive end. Every year, he has progressed more and more toward being a more of a defensive end and less of an off-ball linebacker. He reported today, Clarence Hill did, that Micah Parsons informed the media that he is switching full-time to defensive end. Cowboys Pro Bowl linebacker Micah Parsons is not participating in team off-season program. He is working out in Austin, adding bulk, he says, and weight to be a full-time defensive end. He said that he will return to the Cowboys for OTAs. He tweeted out in response to that report, LOL, people hear bulk and think I'm going from 246 to 270. If you've seen any of my videos, I'm still very slim and I'm putting on good weight. I'm standing at 252 currently. I will not surpass 255 at any time in my career. This is just me putting on more muscle to carry the load. There's no doubt Micah Parsons is going to end up being the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. Patrick, you had those numbers. I mean, I think it was around $30-something million a
Yeah,
year.
Aaron Donald's around 31, I think. Or yeah, so it's got to be a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, you're looking at what, a 3-4 year deal, you think?
Yes. Yeah, they're going to try to lock him down for as long as possible.
What you prefer as a team is to sign a 5-6 year deal with
Yes.
a ton of money up front, and then you basically go, well, if we want to cut you later, we can, and it won't kill us, or we need to renegotiate or whatever. But we were going to pay a lot of it up front. Unfortunately, Cowboys, I don't think really work that way a lot because they're constantly in cap trouble. So they need to find their capologist for this next season. I don't know if you need to hire somebody from the Rams or hire someone else, but when you got to sign Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons, and then Dak's money's coming up, and we have to, there's just a lot of decisions that need to be made, and you got Brandon Cooks, if you're going to keep him. CeeDee Lamb is coming up as well.
Yeah.
That's another $20+ million.
Easy.
That's a lot of money, and you need to talk to your capologist to go, all right, how can we do this? Take one big hit as billionaires, that it's going to be a $70, $80 million offseason for us, like in checks that we're writing right then. And we're going to have to write that, but that will then set us up for another opening a window where we have 4 to 5 years of being able to make actual moves.
I'm with you. I think they should be even open to a shorter-term deal with a lot more guaranteed money in it, and you can front-load the deal, essentially go cash over cap, as you've talked about. Now, I know the Cowboys don't usually do that, as you just said. They prefer to really work the salary cap or maneuver the salary cap the closer they get to the to the start of the new year, rather than try to increasingly give themselves enough salary cap room, because they don't really operate in free agency. A lot of teams, they want to maneuver the salary cap and have enough room so that they can really make moves in free agency. Cowboys don't operate that way. Most homegrown team in the league, they operate through the draft, which gives them a lot of salary cap breaks because they're basically getting the best bargain you can get for a talent acquisition. But I think in Parsons' case, because you're going to have to pay Micah Parsons, highest paid defensive player, you're going to make him the highest paid defensive player in NFL history, $30+ million. Trevon Diggs going to want to be the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. That's $20-something million. You might want to think about, at least with one of those deals, probably the Micah deal, man, giving him most of that up front in a signing bonus or cash up front so that you can have some salary cap relief later on. And I assume one day you're going to want to restructure. You're going to want to keep Micah Parsons with you throughout the entirety of his career, or at least the most of his prime. And I don't even know if he's at the cusp of his prime. I don't know if he's on the precipice of his prime just yet.
Well, and I mean, we're going to see this year with moving to D end if it raises his stock, where he's going to have more sacks and is a better pass rusher with Mozzie Smith in there, or a pass defender. We have to see if that all works out, or if, there was something to be able to move him on the edge and have somebody else.
I like moving him around, and I hope they'll still move him around. I think that Dan Quinn he believes in positionless football. He's a progressive mind. I think he'll still move him around, but there's no doubt every year he has been progressing toward being more of a full-time defensive end. In year 1, 374 snaps on the D-line, 498 at linebacker. Year 2, 738 snaps on the D-line, 171 at linebacker. So it has been a natural progression for him, but it is a nightmare for offensive coordinators when matchup-based week-to-week game planning, they have to figure out where the hell Micah Parsons is. It's like where's Waldo?
Yeah.
Except the nightmarish version of it. Where the hell is Micah? When you know where Micah's going to be, now Micah is elite, and he's still going to get 12, 13 sacks. He's going to get his. It does make it easier to game plan when I know where he's going to be. I can put a back over there to chip him, put an H back over there. I can make him run the hump. I can just make it tougher. I make life tougher on him because I know where he'll be. Hopefully, depending on if they have a elite left tackle or elite right tackle, make his life easier, run him on lots of twists and stunts. Nobody runs more twists and stunts and loops up front than Dan Quinn, but also give him advantageous matchups in pass rushing. Try to get him on an interior offensive lineman. And the way they did that last year was they would move him inside to the off-ball linebacker position, either run a twist or a stunt, or have him blitz the interior gaps.
Yeah, and
which
I mean,
he can still do.
And I think, too, you mentioned earlier that, because you still have Jonathan Hankins under contract for this year and you added Mozzie Smith, you can run packages with 2 giant D tackles in there that are going to take up some space and it really can limit what an O-line can do when they're trying to stop two giant people coming up the middle right at him. And so if you say Micah Parsons, even though he's playing on the line, can do a delayed blitz because you basically try and push 3 to 4 linemen with 2 guys and then engage Micah Parsons while they're trying to stop Mazi Smith and Jonathan Hankins. There's ways you can move stuff around. And again, we're saying all this without saying DeMarcus Lawrence is on the other side, who is a very good pass rusher as well.
You know what I would like to see? In addition to, I do think you'll see Hankins and Mazi Smith on the field at the same time, especially when you're playing the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you'll see that.
Hey, we saw the whole no more QB sneak.
Yes.
That lineup for the QB sneak. With you do that, and then you put whoever your linebacker is right in between those 2 guys, and you just have a lot of body mass.
I think something else that I believe Dan Quinn's going to do, because we actually saw it in Micah's first year a lot. We didn't see it so much in his second year because I think they had more pass rushers they trusted. But they would have a package where they would essentially have Micah Parsons playing the off-ball linebacker, and I know he's not going to do that. He's moving the defensive end full-time. But they would spin him down to DeMarcus Lawrence's side and bump DeMarcus Lawrence inside on pass rushing downs, almost to make a NASCAR package. And I wonder if at times, depending on the matchup week to week, if you have a NASCAR package and you could bump DeMarcus Lawrence inside. They got Dorrance Armstrong. They like him a lot. They got Dante Fowler still. They like him at defensive end. They got Sam Williams, who they like at defensive end. There will be packages, I guarantee you, where they're going to bump one of those defensive ends inside. Whichever one they put on, it's probably going to be DeMarcus Lawrence. He has the most mass and can easily do that. Get them bumped on a less athletic interior offensive lineman, and then have Micah rushing from the outside in I would say a souped up pass rushing package where you have more defensive ends on the field than actual, defensive linemen, if you will. And although, you don't want to do that on early downs, on pass rushing downs, on predictable passing downs, that would be a hell of a pass rushing package.
And I mean, you throw an Overshawn in there as well. When you scoot inside, that Overshawn is someone you can stick and rush on that outside as well as an edge rusher, because we know he's rushed the quarterback well on third downs at Texas. So if you say you can kind of run that package with that, and when you do that, you overload the other side. So you're basically attacking from both, because now you have Overshawn coming on this one side. You got Micah Parsons in the middle. Mazi Smith is now moved over, and DeMarcus Lawrence is on the other side. You're now pressuring on Lawrence's side.
Mm-hmm.
You got Micah Parsons coming straight up the middle, and Overshawn coming in the outside. There's just so many different ways with the additions you made of Overshawn and Mazi Smith, and now putting Micah Parsons solely at DN, where this D-line can line up in so many different ways that are making it really difficult for other teams. And I know it's kind of set up in hey, we have to beat the Eagles, because if you're playing for a Super Bowl, you have to try and beat the best teams, right?
You're going to beat the team in your division, too.
But also not have the weaknesses to say Micah Parsons, it may not be the greatest pass defender, especially as a linebacker. Well, that's fine. Let's go get some other guys that can do that and try and use him more for what his real strength is.
And he actually is a decent pass fan. He's not a good run defender.
Yeah.
That's his real weakness, is that teams want to run right. That's why he said he's going to gain a little bit of weight, because I think when they put him at DN as well, that's going to make it easier for teams to go, well, we're just going to run at Micah. Yeah. And we're going to roll the pocket, or we're basically going to bump the pass protection to Micah's side, and then we're going to run at Micah as much as we can. So I would still move him around, but he's been progressing toward being more of
We'll see if him working with Bijan in the offseason has helped him, figure out running backs.
Yeah, I should have said that. He is actually working in Austin right now, too. That was a part of the Clarence Hill report. Speaking of getting – and back to DeMarvin Overshawn just really quickly, this is a really good move for DeMarvin Overshawn's career. If he's going full-time to defensive end, they're going to have Leighton Vander Esch and Damone Clark are probably going to be their 2 starting off-ball linebackers. After that, I mean, they're not really confident in Jabril Cox. They don't like Jabril Cox as much as I do. They waned on him last year. And then after that, really, I think the Harper, they had the Oklahoma State linebacker, and he was coming off, I think, an injury last year. But they don't have a ton of depth at off-ball linebacker. Overshawn's going to get a shot now to play. And as Patrick mentioned, he's really good at pass rushing. As a matter of fact, he said the Dallas Cowboys told him one of the things that really attracted them to DeMarvin Overshown was his ability to rush off the edge as a passer. He had a 25% pressure rate last season for Texas, and that was higher than a lot of those linebackers, Noah Sewell, Daniel Henley, Drew Sanders, Jack Campbell. It was actually a higher pressure rate than those guys. So he's a natural pass rusher off the edge. Cowboys might be weaponizing that talent as well. All right, getting to the other story here in the state of Texas, the Texans, who had a really good draft. They drafted C.J. Stroud to be their franchise quarterback, and they also drafted Tank Dell, Nathaniel Dell, in the 3rd round, the wide receiver out of U of H. Now, he admitted recently, and Patrick, can we have this sound ready? Tank Dell admitted recently that a big part of his selection by the Houston Texans was the reference, if you will, or the go-ahead, the okay from C.J. Stroud. Apparently, C.J. Stroud went out of his way to not only reach out to Tank Dell prior to the draft, but also to speak with the Texans about the receiver and how much he would have liked to have him as a part of his weaponry that he's targeting there with the Texans. Here is Tank Dell of the Houston Texans.
Like right after the combine, we was texting each other and stuff like that. And he was just telling me like, man, he talked to me after the combine. He was just like, boy, I like how you run routes, like how you play football. He said he's been watching me and stuff like that. And then I told him the vice versa, and I appreciated him and stuff like that. And then like I think it was like after he got drafted, I sent him congrats. And then I was like, tell him come get me. I told him to tell him come get me and stuff like that. And then he was like, I got you, trust me. And then the next day, I think he called me, he FaceTimed me out of nowhere. Like I texted him. Yeah, I texted him and he FaceTimed me. And then he was like, man, I told him I want you, yada, 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 this, that, and the third. So I was like, okay, it can happen. And then, I got that call.
I do love Tank Dell's usage of this, that, and the third, because this, that, and the third is basically a newer, modernized version of yada, yada, yada. He used both of them, yada, 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 and this, that, and the third. This, that, and the third. I'm going to start using that. Now, this is not the last time you're going to hear this, that, and the third.
This, that, and the third.
I love it. Oh, but here's the really the anecdote about that story that I think is really interesting, that NFL teams are now really considering chemistry between players, not only mostly quarterback, wide receiver connections, but they're considering chemistry as a real data point in evaluations and in their reasons for talent acquisition. And it's really interesting because we talked about this actually last year when the Raiders brought in Davante Adams. And it was like, oh, man, they're bringing in Davante Adams. Big talking point was they're reuniting him with Derek Carr, reuniting, and it feels so good. And then we started to point out there are other examples in the NFL of teams prioritizing chemistry between players. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, Tua and Jalen Waddle, even Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown. Remember, Kyler Murray reportedly needed a friend. And they were like, you know what? We can find you a friend and a top target. So they traded for Marquise Brown to get him a friend and a target, considering chemistry to be a big data point in the evaluation overall of that player, and the chemistry of adding another player and what that could do to overall uplift the ceiling of both the players that you acquire, because you're putting those two together. So it is something now that I think some teams may, they may quantify it differently. They may prioritize it more than others. But whether you're talking about the QB wide receiver connection or just chemistry overall and familiarity between players, it is definitely something now that teams are looking at. And it's also, I think, the NBA-ification of the NFL, where the quarterbacks, they are probably the only superstars that get that NBA-type treatment in the NFL. And more teams are asking quarterbacks, maybe out of respect, maybe common courtesy more than anything, what do you think about this guy? Give me your thoughts on the wide receivers. Dak has said the Cowboys give him film every year on the receivers, and they ask for his input. We know that Patrick Mahomes had input on the draft of the Kansas City Chiefs with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and even recently has talked about how he gave his thoughts on Sky Moore and their recent wide receiver picks. If you got a franchise quarterback, you'd almost be a fool not to ask him, hey, what are your thoughts about these wide receivers? And what would you watch film and tell me which one of these guys you like? You like the way they run routes? Do you have any chemistry with these players? And I'm glad the Texans are now in that category of teams.
Well, and I mean, we talk about the Texans too. How many times we mention that they're basically, that they're too many times was one voice in the room. There was one voice in the room. So you want to see them reach out. You go, you don't have to do everything. It could have been they asked C.J. Stroud, hey, who's 5 wide receivers you like? And Tank Dell's one of the 5.
Could be.
And then they draft him. So the story is, hey, I vouched for Tank Dell. He could have said other names as well. He could have been when they drafted him. He could have said, man, if you can get Jackson Smith and Jigba in here, and they're like, cool, we're getting Will Anderson.
That's true. It's a good point.
You know,
that.
there could be other guys they're mentioned in there as well. But you want to go, hey, why do you like this guy? What are the factors? Because you talk to him on a different level than we do. We talked about this with Dak a few weeks ago, looking at players. It's like you talked to him at the combine, and we're job employers. You're another guy who's looking for a job. Y'all are having a conversation in the waiting room that's way different than we're having in the meeting room.
That's true.
And so to see, what did you like about it? Did we meet the same guy you met? Because if we met the same guy and we like this thing about him and that's the real him, because he's telling you the same thing he's telling us, then, okay, now we feel even better taking this guy.
Yeah, you're right. It's almost like another reference, another character reference, or
because you can
skill
go into
reference.
you can walk into a job interview and go in there and lie and tell them that you're the greatest person. You work well with others, and you have a lot of experience doing everything. And then you're sitting in the waiting room talking to someone else. You're like, man, I don't even want to be here, man. I gotta be home at 5 p.m. I don't leave the office at 5. I'm at home at 5. And you be doing that, and then afterwards they come talk. You're like, no, this dude. No, he told me this and he told you that.
No, that's a good point. I never thought about that, but yeah, you want as many references and as many people that can vouch for the character of a player as possible.
Yeah.
Why not another player? As you've talked about, you open up to another player and say things and talk about things you would not with a scout or with a coach.
100%.
And not saying
you're not doing that with a 40, 50-year-old man
Exactly.
when you're 23 years old.
Yeah. So
So C.J. Stroud's 22.
yeah, but he's got to grow up fast.
I mean, you're 22 years old. You're not going. When I was 22, I wasn't going up to guys in suits and being like, "Yeah, let me go tell you everything about me." I'm not. When you're Tank Dell, you're not saying that. But together, and then when you put them in a locker room together now at 22, 23 years old, and you have grown men in there. You have men that have been playing football for years and are 32, 33 and got kids and got everything else, and they're not there for you. Because they're there to make their own money and they're there to do their own thing. You are able to have another person to come in and be like, hey, man, that's crazy. Coach was crazy today, wasn't he? And they go, yeah, man, coach was crazy.
Yeah, man.
And then you let it go and you move on.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers wanted to bring all of his friends with him. He actually got another one today. Randall Cobb joined the JETS Jets. Always has Alan Lazard up there as well. So it's something that should be common sense. That chemistry between players, familiarity between players, as Patrick said, it makes guys a lot more comfortable, especially guys in the same age range, and it's an overall benefit, a symbiotic benefit for the front office too, because they learn more about the players through these different references by players, if you will. But now it's starting to see, like, now they quantify it. I don't know, maybe it was always going on, but now you're starting to see it quantified and you're starting to see it become more common practice. All right, we come back. We'll talk about Poona Ford's new home and also the on-3 quarterback rankings. We'll get into both of those topics on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. The Flex crew's already in the building. Your Wednesday night flex will be coming up once we get done. Before we do that, though, I got to get into this on-3 quarterback rankings. I also want to get to this Poona Ford news on a midweek movie music edition of Ball Don't Lie when Patrick takes songs from a soundtrack, and based on those selections, we are supposed to gather clues and hints that lead us to the featured film of midweek movie music. All right, Poona Ford, lifetime Longhorn Poona Ford, has a new home. Undrafted free agent originally, who ended up signing with Seattle, had the 5 years with the Seattle Seahawks. Great start to his career. He is now signing a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, makes sense because usually he plays the zero technique. He's a nose tackle, but he moved him around. They played him in the 3 technique last year a little bit. Even moved him around different shades. Even played a little 4-eye last year with Seattle. Had 22 pressures and last season, and also 3 sacks, which was a career high for him. So Poona Ford going to the Buffalo Bills, to me, goes back to my plunger theory because they have interior D linemen. They got Ed Oliver. They got Jordan Phillips. They got Daquan Jones. They got Tim Settle. Most of those guys are predominantly pass rushing, penetrating D tackles. All right. What is Poona Ford? He's a run stuffing, gap clogging, double team taking, old school wide body run stuffing defensive tackle. And that's what every team needs these days because they're realizing, yeah, man, we built these defenses to be sleek and fast to defend the passing game, and we built these defenses to defend the outside zone. All right, so they stress teams by going sideline to sideline, so our teams are fast, they're sleek, all right, and they can defend the pass, but they can't stop the power running game, which is why last year teams averaged 5.3, 5.2 yards per rush in the power running game on powers and on counters. Inside, outside zone, teams average 4.4, 4.3 yards per rush in the league. Why? Because defenses are designed to stop the inside and the outside zone. They're actually designed to stop the pass, which is why teams last season ran for 4.5 yards per carry, highest average in NFL history. 121.6 rushing yards per game per team. That is the highest average since 1987. So teams are just figuring out, you know what, the best counter to these teams trying to, construct their defenses to be sleeker and faster and defend the pass and defend the zone running scheme is just run right at these mofos with the power running game because they can't really they can't really solve that issue overnight. It takes a talent acquisition. It's going to take a serious scheme adjustment. So what they're doing, same thing the Cowboys did. Go get Jonathan Hankins. All right? Same thing the Eagles did. Go get Ndamukong Suh. Go get Linval Joseph. They did it in the middle of the season. Both of those teams, 2 top 5 defenses decided, guys, our only weakness is we can't stop the power running game. And that was a weakness for the Cowboys. So much of a weakness, in fact, that they decided to draft one of those plungers I talk about in the first round. Now, most teams decide, like the Bills, like the Cowboys last year, like the Eagles did last year, you know what, I don't want to spend a ton of money on a position that's going to have a ton of wear and tear, like the interior defensive lineman that does all that dirty work, all right, and I don't want to necessarily pay somebody high dollar or top dollar for that specific purpose when it's not a premium position. That's why they want 1-year rentals and mercenary deals. Well, there are certain teams now that are deciding they are being exploited by this power run game so much, they're going to go get themselves a high-priced, high-quality, high-level interior defensive lineman. Cowboys did it with Mozzie Smith. The Eagles did it with Jordan Davis last year. Did it again with Jalen Carter this year. And Jalen Carter's a little different because he's a pass-rushing interior. He can do anything, right? He's kind of a 5-tool interior defensive lineman. But before that, Jordan Davis, he was more their answer to the wide-body, double-team-taking, gap-stuffing defensive tackle. And most teams will decide to go with a temporary solution, like a mercenary deal, just to sign a guy to a 1-year deal like the Cowboys did with Jonathan Hankins and maybe re-sign them to a 1-year deal. Look at what happened to Poona Ford. But I do think you're seeing a changing of the guard. You have so many teams that are engaging in power football. Power, we just talked about Bijan Robinson going to Atlanta. So many teams engaging in power football that you're going to need more than the temporary solution of an interior wide body run stuffing defensive tackle. Like I said, every team is going to need one of these, like every house needs a plunger. Because when the fit hits the shan and you need a plunger, man, There's nothing more valuable in your house when you need one. Same thing with these defensive tackles. There's nothing more valuable on a defense than when they need that run-stuffing D tackle and they ain't got it. And you see all those teams ran out and got one right. They post haste. All right, as quick as they could. And this is the same thing for the Bills. They got a lot of interior D linemen, but they can't stop the run. And it's becoming an acquired skill. That's why I think Coburn's going to be all right, because every team needs a plunger. Every house needs a plunger. Every team needs a Coburn. He's going to be all right.
I'm just surprised the Bills understood that you could run the football with the running back.
Right.
I didn't know that they
Did
knew
they draft
that.
one this year? Did we pay attention?
No, they did not.
They drafted the tight end, though. They got caught Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, they got a tenant. They did not draft a running back. James Cook listed as their starter right now.
Hey, they can trade for Derrick Henry still.
They're not going to.
They're probably not going to, but they can.
They could trade for Dalvin Cook. They could trade for Austin Eckler. They could add pieces if they wanted to.
Oh, man.
They signed Latavius Murray.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I still can't figure out what the hell they're doing.
They don't like running backs.
One quick note, just real quick before we wrap it up, so I can get to this on 3 list. I'll just give you the names and we can be done because we're close to the break here. I did see a stat about success rate and Jonathan Hankins. So last year when Jonathan Hankins was on the field, I mean, the Cowboys' rush defense actually was pretty stout. They actually allowed 3.6 yards per rush with him on the field, 4.5 yards per rush with him off the field. Listen to this little stat. The best run defense in the NFL last year had a success rate of 73%. When Jonathan Hankins was on the field for the Cowboys, their rush defense success rate, 74%. Essentially, when he was on the field, they had the best rush defense in the league. That's why they got Mozzie Smith, because they want to replicate that. All right, here's the list real quick of your top quarterback rooms, so we're up against it. The number one quarterback room, you probably could have guessed it based on 3 rankings. It's Lincoln Riley's quarterback room. Yeah, you got Caleb Williams. You got the top quarterback projected, the top pick overall in the 2024 NFL draft in Caleb Williams. And even behind him, I mean, the rich get richer because they have a ton of talent there at USC. So USC is number one on this list. I think a lot of that is the reputation of one Lincoln Riley. But they also got Malachi Nelson, who's a 5-star, and Miller Moss, a former blue chip recruit too. LSU number 2 on this list, Brian Kelly with Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier as his 2 options. Both of those guys starting caliber quarterbacks. And number 3 on this list, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Steve Sarkisian and his trio of quarterbacks in that room. Quinn Ewers, who was the highest-rated quarterback in modern recruiting in the last 20 years. Malik Murphy, who some people believe if he left Texas via the transfer portal, which he did not, that he could start for several Power 5 programs, probably including Alabama right now. And then Arch Manning, the prince that was promised. And they don't even mention Charles Wright, the quarterback from Austin High. So Texas Longhorns, a lot of firepower, a lot of arm talent in that quarterback room. And even this year, if Quinn Ewers can't get the job done, but we all assume that he will, in the way too early mock drafts, they have him as a top 10 pick most of the times. But if he cannot, then a lot of people are excited about the prospect of Malik Murphy being able to show off that cannon. Remember, Sark said he's got a stronger arm than any quarterback in the room, including Quinn Ewers. So a lot of high expectations for the Texas program. Oh, to round out the top 5, you have Drake May in North Carolina at number 4. Oklahoma, there you go, with Dylan Gabriel and Jackson Arnold. They are the 5th highest ranked quarterback room in the country, according to On3 Sports. All right, we come back. We'll wrap it up, put it in the oven, and let you know what's on tap. Right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Getting ready to wrap this thing up and put it in the oven. Before we do, we'll let you know what's on tap. If you missed any part of the show, just go to hornfm.com and you can catch up with them on the podcast page. We got the Flex Crew coming up next. I just got done having a little conversation with the Flex Crew. My man Zach Lucero, Nolan the Seed, Cameron is in the building too, hanging out.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's going to be a hype show tonight. Also, special guest, they're going to have the Lhasa football head coach, Derek Lewis. He's going to be joining me, and I believe I got a chance to meet Derek Lewis at the San Antonio All-American they had the All-American game, but remember they had the football camp prior to that for all the young players. And I met Derek Lewis there when I was a volunteer coach for Anthony Williams at one of his showcases there. So that was really fun. And he's a really cool guy. I'll be looking forward to hearing that interview. And Anderson's baseball/football all-world athlete, Ed Small, who's an all-flex wide receiver on our all-flex team, but also a UT baseball commit. He is going to be live in studio. And, man, I remember the first time I was talking to Zach about it, too. The first time I saw him play, it was 7-on-7, actually, because we went out there to watch the guys play. And they kept telling me he was a baseball guy. And I was like, man, he don't play like a baseball player. Some football players, when they say he's a baseball player, he's a track guy.
Yeah.
Playing football, they play football like they're a track guy playing football, or they're a baseball player
Avoiding contact?
Yeah, that ain't him.
No,
he plays. So I would love to see him play baseball because like I said, if he's obviously a better baseball player than a football player, I think he's a tremendous football player.
So you're saying you don't want to be a first baseman when he's coming down the base path?
Hell no. And I think he can run as Dion say too. So he might be stealing base pads too, man. Great athlete there. So looking forward to the flex, the Wednesday night flex coming up next. All right, Patrick, what you got on tap, brother? What's on tap?
I'm gonna watch the basketball game. It's coming up here at 7, Philly and Boston.
Oh yeah,
we'll see that game. And then since I've only got one game tonight, I may be watching the new John Mulaney special. I mean, not checked it out. I've heard good things about it.
Oh yes, this is about his struggle with addiction.
His struggle with addiction during COVID, all that coming back, which seems gonna be interesting coming from him because he's his delivery.
He's kind of dry.
And then I did cocaine.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be an interesting thing.
And I saw an interview with him. I don't know why I was watching it randomly. He went on some podcast, and they asked him if he had ever did his drug habit get so bad that he had been to a trap house. And he's like, I didn't know what it was. They had to describe what a trap house was. He's like, oh no, I definitely have never been to a trap house before. So I actually saw an interview, so I know he's making the rounds about that.
No, I went to a crack house once when I was in driver's ed, which I didn't realize at the time. But you
didn't realize it was a crack house?
Yeah, no, the guy who was teaching the course.
Crack houses have there are certain things, commonalities between all crack houses you should recognize.
Yeah, I was 15 years old, did not know at the time, and then you're like, why are we going to this house? It got broken windows and all this. The guy's like, I'll be right back, and just went in and then got it. I'm just sitting in. He just had me drive him to a crack house while teaching me how to drive a car.
Wow. Something else. I learned something new about Patrick again today at the end of the show. He actually has been to a crack house before. You know what? Hey, good for you.
I stayed in the car. I was in the car.
So you didn't go in the crack house.
I did not go in.
You've been to one, though. You saw it. All right. Thanks to my man, Patrick. Thanks to my man, Hards. Thanks to all of you guys out there for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about right here on Ball Don't Lie. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Wednesday Night Flex coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Peace.